Hey there, sleepyheads. Welcome back to the channel. Before we drift into tonight's tale of the Secret Calendar of Ooo, I'd love to know where in the world you're watching from tonight. And what time is it for you right now? Drop it in the comments below. It's always magical seeing how far and wide this sleepy little community reaches. All right, lights low, blankets up. Let's begin. Tonight, we're going to wander through something mysterious and often overlooked in the Land of Ooo, the way time itself is measured, or perhaps not measured at all. You see, in our own world, we rely so heavily on calendars, on clocks, on seasons marked carefully year after year. But in Ooo, time feels far less certain. Sometimes it stretches like taffy, sometimes it folds in on itself, and sometimes it vanishes altogether, leaving only silence where whole years should be. The first layer of this secret calendar begins at the dawn after the Great Mushroom War, a moment when everything known to the old world was broken, scattered like shards of glass. The neat markings of days and months were torn apart, and those who survived had to rebuild not only their homes, but their understanding of time itself. Imagine the sky, then, still heavy with ash, the moon dimmed, the sun hazy and strange. To tell whether it was morning or evening might have felt like a guess, a soft uncertainty. Perhaps whole generations grew up without ever knowing the exact year. These are the hidden years of Ooo, the quiet centuries that slipped into the cracks, unnamed and uncounted. Historians and wizards sometimes argue about when exactly the Mushroom War occurred, but maybe the truth is there is no precise answer because the calendar itself was lost. For a time, people simply lived from one sunrise to the next, guided more by instinct than by numbers on a page. If you close your eyes, you can almost picture it. Fragments of broken clocks lying in the dust. Wristwatches still ticking weekly long after their owners were gone, and entire libraries of calendars burned away in the war's great firestorms. Survivors, huddled together, may have tried to mark days by scratching lines into walls, or by stacking stones in little piles. And yet, when so much was taken, maybe keeping track of days felt less important than simply staying alive. In that silence, years might have passed without names. Children could have grown into adults without ever knowing their own birthdays, and entire seasons may have flowed by with no festivals, no holidays, no celebrations to mark their passing. These were the lost beginnings of Oo's time, when the land was too wounded to count its days. And yet even in the ruins, there must have been those who remembered. Wizards, especially those strange survivors who lived in both the practical and the mystical, may have kept fragments of older calendars tucked away, a dusty book salvaged from a collapsed library, a shard of a sundial still casting shadows in the ruins of a garden, a memory of equinoxes and solstices when once the old world gathered to watch the turning of the seasons. But even those records would have been incomplete. The Mushroom War did not just destroy cities. It bent the very laws of nature. Magic bled back into the world, seeping into the soil and the air. Rivers ran with strange colors, forests grew twisted, and whole kingdoms would rise from this new strangeness. What good is a calendar from a world that no longer exists? Perhaps the months themselves lost meaning, when spring could suddenly arrive in winter, and the skies might rain fire instead of water. It is here that the idea of a secret calendar begins to take shape. Not a calendar of numbers, but of memories. Not January or June, but the year of the candy harvest, or the winter when the sky fell quiet. In these early centuries, the people of Ooo may have marked their time in stories rather than dates. A festival of survival, remembered only by a handful. A great migration, carried in song rather than on a calendar. This way of remembering fits the land itself. Ooo does not feel bound by the ticking of seconds or the neat boxes of a planner. It feels alive, pulsing with seasons that come and go like moods, shifting without warning. And so its hidden years are like dreams, hazy, unmeasured, but no less real. Now, if we think of timekeepers beyond mortals, we find another layer, cosmic beings like Prismo in his time room, or the ever-dreaming cosmic owl. For them, the calendar was never lost. They have always known the sequence of days, even if those days slid into shadow from mortals on the surface. Imagine Prismo, lounging in his eternal chamber, watching the hidden centuries pass by like pages turning in a book. To him, every year exists, even the ones forgotten by those who lived them. The cosmic owl, too, drifting through dreams, may carry fragments of those uncounted years in the images he delivers. So when we speak of the dawn of hidden days, we're really talking about a strange overlap, a land where time was shattered for its people, but where, on some higher plane, the calendar continued without pause. This is the first secret of Oo's time, that even when no one remembers the year, the days still flow. They are still being counted quietly by someone, somewhere. Think of the ruins scattered across Ooo, the shattered stadiums, the rusting cars, the skeletons of skyscrapers now swallowed by forests. Each of these is a marker of a time that once was, but no longer has a name. Walking through them is like flipping through an invisible calendar, one where the pages have been burned away, leaving only the faint impression of ink. And so, at the dawn of Oo's history, time was not kept by clocks or dates, but by survival, memory, and the watchful eyes of cosmic beings. A secret calendar hidden in silence, yet always moving forward. As we linger in this quiet beginning, imagine the people of Ooo moving through a world that no longer made sense in conventional terms. The survivors were few, and the landscape itself seemed to carry the memory of what had been lost. Ash still drifted in the wind, settling gently upon the ruins of towns that had once thrived. Here and there, a lone figure might pause to trace lines in the dirt, attempting to mark the passage of time. Perhaps a child drew a circle in the sand, noting the day the sun returned, after weeks of ash-choked skies. Or a weary adult stacked stones, one for each day survived. These small acts of remembrance became, in a sense, the first entries of Oo's secret calendar, fleeting yet profound. The hidden years were silent, yes, but not empty. Life persisted in quiet, patient ways. Animals adapted, plants flourished in strange new forms, and magic began to seep gently back into the world long before anyone understood its nature. It moved like a soft breath through the forests, rivers, and mountains, weaving into the daily lives of those who remained. And within this slow, almost imperceptible rhythm, a kind of time began to emerge again, though it was not measured in months or weeks, but in moments of survival, growth, and quiet wonder. Some scholars of Oo's later ages would theorize that these hidden years carried the seeds of the world we see in the present, that perhaps the Candy Kingdom, the Ice Kingdom, and even the Fire Kingdom were shaped not only by magic, but by the subtle passage of these forgotten centuries. Each ruin held a story, each artifact a whispered memory, and each shadowed valley a record of days that no official calendar would ever note. In this way, time itself became both fragile and resilient, slipping through human hands while leaving traces in the land. And yet, even amidst this uncertainty, there were those who sought to anchor themselves in continuity. Wizards, alchemists, and curious scholars might have kept journals, not necessarily filled with dates, but with events. The day the northern forest glowed silver. The night the volcano sang. The morning a rainbow appeared without rain. These moments became temporal markers, fragments of a calendar known only to those who witnessed them. If we listen closely, we can almost hear the faint echoes of these chronicles in the winds that sweep through Oo's empty streets, in the rustling leaves of long-forgotten gardens, and in the quiet hum of magic that never sleeps. Even nature itself seemed aware of this hidden passage of time. Rivers remembered courses that no longer existed, tracing gentle arcs through ruined valleys, while trees grew in patterns shaped by seasons that no one could name. Clouds drifted in slow, deliberate arcs, and the stars traced faint patterns above, reflecting ages that humans and candy people alike had ceased to record. The land, in its own way, was a living calendar, silently counting the days, months, and years that had slipped through memory. It's also important to imagine the small, quiet moments that punctuated these hidden years. A wandering traveler might stumble upon an ancient ruin, its stones cool under their hands, and feel the weight of centuries that had no name. A child playing by a quiet brook might sense the shimmer of magic, perhaps the residue of lost time brushing against the skin like a gentle breeze. Even the wind itself seemed to carry fragments of these forgotten days, whistling through crumbling towers and over broken bridges, as if reminding those who listened that time, though unrecorded, had never truly stopped. And in the midst of this, the cosmic watchers remained, beings who existed beyond the human sense of linear time, whose perspective encompassed both the named years and the hidden ones. Prismo, reclining in his time room, may have observed these centuries with quiet amusement or gentle care, noting the survival and growth of life even as mortals forgot their own calendars. The cosmic owl drifted through dreams, carrying visions of the unmarked years to those receptive to them, whispering hints of forgotten festivals, long-lost rulers, or moments of quiet heroism that would never appear in a conventional history. It is a comforting thought, in a way, that even when the days go uncounted, they are not lost entirely. Ooo remembers even when its inhabitants do not. The ruins, the forests, the rivers, the mountains, all serve as quiet archivists of a time that slips beneath the attention of mortals. Each season that passes, each gentle snowfall or sudden bloom, becomes a note in a symphony of hidden years, a melody played softly for those willing to listen. And perhaps this is the first lesson of Oo's secret calendar. The time is not only measured in numbers or strict divisions of months and days. It is measured in survival, in quiet acts of remembrance, in the persistent flow of magic and nature. Hidden years may pass without official recognition, but they shape the land, the people, and even the dreams that wander through its skies. They form a gentle undercurrent, a rhythm beneath the surface of what we can see, always moving forward, even when unnoticed. Even in the midst of such quiet uncertainty, life found ways to mark its presence, subtle though it may have been. Imagine wandering through the forests of Ooo during these hidden years. The trees, some gnarled and ancient, bore rings of growth that no one counted, yet they silently recorded every season, every whisper of wind, every rainfall and frost. Streams meandered lazily through valleys, their courses shifting ever so slightly with time, tracing the slow, unmeasured passage of years. Perhaps the very land itself became a living journal, inscribing memory into every stone, every root, and every delicate leaf. It is in such a world that the earliest storytellers must have emerged. Those who could not measure time with calendars or clocks learned to measure it in narrative. Songs were sung to remember days, tales were told to honor moments, and each whispered memory became a thread in the tapestry of Oo's secret chronology. A melody hummed beside a campfire might recall a forgotten migration of creatures, or the quiet blossoming of a magical flower long vanished. These were the first hints of the festivals and rituals that would one day reemerge, but for now existed only in the hearts and minds of those who had survived. In these hidden years, survival itself became a kind of calendar, a day in which food was found, a week in which friends were protected, a month in which the magic of the land revealed its wonders. All of these small victories, though unmarked by any formal record, were stitched into memory like a secret ledger of time. And as these years passed, even the tiniest details became precious. The first night in a rebuilt shelter, the discovery of a new spring, the quiet return of light after a long period of darkness, all became temporal anchors, guiding those who lived through them without need for numbers or formal reckoning. And yet, the land was never entirely silent. Magic, which had seeped into the world after the Great Mushroom War, began to pulse softly, like a hidden heartbeat beneath the ruins. It left traces everywhere, shimmering footprints in the frost, glimmers of strange energy along riverbanks, whispers in the wind that carried faint memories of days uncounted. These magical echoes may have been the first hints of Oo's secret calendar, a record not in ink or stone, but in the very fabric of existence. Perhaps this is why some of the more attuned beings, like wizards and mystics, could sense the passage of hidden years, even when no ordinary method could measure them. Consider for a moment the cosmic owl, drifting silently through dreams. Perhaps it watches not only what is, but what could have been the years that passed unnoticed, the festivals that never occurred, the rulers whose names faded into silence. Its presence reminds us that even the unseen, the forgotten, has significance. Dreams themselves might act as a bridge, a gentle conduit through which hidden time whispers into consciousness, hinting at stories that were never recorded but are no less real. And the more we imagine these times, the more we realize that the hidden years were not merely a void. They were a space of quiet growth, subtle transformation, and tentative exploration. In the silence of these uncounted days, forests expanded their reach, rivers carved new courses, and animals learned to navigate a world forever changed. Survivors, too, adapted, developing new ways to live, to think, and to mark the passing of time through rituals both small and profound. A simple act, like lighting a fire at dawn or singing a soft song to the wind, could become a sacred acknowledgement of the day, a way of saying, I have seen this moment, and it matters. Even the ruins themselves, now scattered across the land, carry echoes of this hidden chronology. Broken towers, abandoned fortresses, remnants of cities swallowed by forest or sand, each is a page in the silent ledger. They tell of lives that passed unrecorded, of festivals forgotten, and of histories that did not survive the war's great sweep. Yet they endure, silently chronicling the days, months, and perhaps even centuries that slipped quietly away. Walking through them is akin to stepping into a story half-remembered, a dream of history that exists in fragments, waiting to be pieced together. It is in this way that Oo's earliest calendar was shaped, not by numbers, but by memory, not by months, but by moments, not by rulers or decrees, but by the gentle persistence of life and magic. And if we pause for a moment, we can almost sense it. The hidden rhythm of days uncounted, flowing through the land like a slow, endless river. Even when forgotten by mortals, the passage of time was recorded in whispers, in shadows, in the quiet magic that never truly sleeps. And here, perhaps, we glimpse one of Oo's most beautiful mysteries, that even when the world is broken, even when calendars are lost and histories erased, life continues. Time, though unseen, moves forward. Magic persists, and the land, patient and enduring, remembers what mortals cannot. Hidden years, though unmarked by any clock, become part of the land's memory, shaping the festival, stories, and rhythms that will one day rise from the quiet ashes to color Ooo once again. As we linger in the soft light of these hidden years, it is important to imagine how the first fragile attempts to mark time emerged. In a world where calendars were shattered and years passed unnoticed, small rituals began to take root. A traveler might pause to place a token of stone on a hilltop, marking the passing of a day. A child could trace patterns in the dust, marking the waxing and waning of the moon. Even the tiniest gestures became a quiet acknowledgement of time's flow, a way for mortals to anchor themselves amidst uncertainty. These early acts, though simple, were profoundly human. They carried the hope that, even in a fractured world, there could be continuity, a thread connecting one day to the next. Survivors may have whispered songs that spoke of the sun's return or the soft arrival of rain, each verse acting as a gentle reminder that life continued, even when the larger history of the world was lost. Perhaps it was in these small, almost imperceptible acts that the first seeds of Oo's secret calendar were sown, an unspoken rhythm recorded not in ink, but in memory and magic. Magic, of course, played its own quiet role. In the aftermath of the Mushroom War, the land itself seemed to pulse with latent energy. Forests shimmered faintly with a glow that had no source. Rivers wound through valleys as if guided by some unseen hand, carrying with them whispers of ages uncounted. Animals moved in patterns that hinted at some larger rhythm, a hidden clock only nature itself could comprehend. Even the wind seemed aware, rustling through abandoned streets and broken structures, carrying echoes of forgotten days. To those attuned to such subtleties, the wizards, the mystics, the perceptive few, time had not disappeared. It had merely shifted, becoming something that could be felt, heard, and occasionally glimpsed in the strange, lingering magic of the world. And beyond the mortal realm, other watchers quietly observed these hidden years. Prismo, in his time room, may have reclined with a gentle smile, noting the subtle unfolding of events that mortals could not measure. The cosmic owl, drifting through dreams, may have traced the secret currents of forgotten festivals and uncounted days, whispering fragments of them into the minds of sleepers. Perhaps even Golb, in his chaotic void, registered the echoes of these years, if only as a faint vibration in the underlying fabric of existence. In their way, the hidden years were never truly lost. They existed in layers invisible to ordinary perception, recorded in the subtle language of dreams, magic, and the cosmos itself. It is here, amidst this quiet interplay of human effort, natural rhythm, and cosmic attention, that we can begin to understand the first hints of what would later emerge as Oo's secret calendar. It was not a strict ledger of numbered months, nor a precise record of rulers or wars. It was a living, breathing chronicle composed of moments. The day a tree finally bore fruit after years of barrenness, the night the auroras danced across the sky in colors no one had seen before, the week a river overflowed, reshaping a valley in silence. Each was a marker, a gentle signal to those who lived through them that time was still moving, that history, though fragmented, was still being written. And as these hidden years passed, small communities began to form again, tentative at first, fragile yet determined. From these groups emerged the earliest iterations of celebration, simple acknowledgments of shared survival and quiet joy. Perhaps a day when the river froze solid enough to cross safely, perhaps a night when fireflies lit the forest like scattered stars, became reasons to gather, to sing, to remember. These early gatherings were not formal festivals, yet they carried the heartbeat of what would later become ritual, marking the passage of time in ways both personal and communal. In the soft silence of these formative centuries, we can almost hear the whispers of the first forgotten histories tucked away in the folds of Ooo's landscape. Ruins that no one recorded, forests that no map charted, valleys where the wind itself seems to speak. All these are pages of an invisible book, chronicling the hidden years. Walking through them now, centuries later, one can sense the subtle continuity, the gentle pulse that connects the lost past to the present. Even when mortals forgot, even when civilizations fell and rose again, the land remembered. And so, as we close this portion of our journey through the dawn of hidden days, it becomes clear that Ooo's secret calendar is not a tool of rigid measurement. It is a record of survival, of subtle change, of small, almost imperceptible moments that ripple outward across time. The hidden years remind us that time is not solely defined by numbers, by rulers, or by formal events. Time is felt, experienced, and remembered, often in ways too delicate to see but too profound to ignore. Perhaps the greatest secret of all is this: even when a day seems lost, even when an entire season disappears without a trace, it still exists somewhere in the quiet archives of the world, in the wind through the trees, in the shimmer of a river, in the song of a bird. The hidden years persist. They are a reminder that Ooo's history is not only what is written down, but what survives in memory, in magic, and in the patient, enduring heartbeat of the land itself. In this gentle, almost imperceptible rhythm, the first layers of Ooo's secret calendar were formed. They are hidden from plain sight, yet they shape every festival, every story, and every rhythm of life that would come to define this magical land. And it is from this quiet, careful weaving of memory and magic that the next chapter of our exploration begins, where forgotten festivals and the first communal celebrations rise softly from the ashes of hidden years, carrying with them the pulse of Ooo itself. As we continue our slow wander through Ooo's hidden history, we arrive at a place of quiet celebration. Not the lively, brightly marked holidays that later kingdoms would record, nor the familiar parades and feasts we see in the present day. Tonight we turn our attention to festivals that existed long ago, whispered in memory or carried only in the lingering magic of the land. These are the festivals that once were delicate threads woven into the tapestry of Ooo's forgotten years, fleeting yet profound. In the earliest centuries, after the Great Mushroom War, communities were small and scattered, and life was fragile. Yet even in the shadow of survival, there arose a gentle desire to mark the passage of time with more than mere endurance. A day of gathering, a shared meal, or a simple ritual could transform into a festival, even if only for a single night. Imagine a village beside a quiet river, the water shimmering under the soft glow of fireflies, and the survivors lighting small fires to honor the first rainfall of the season. Perhaps they sang songs that had no names, yet the melody itself became the mark of that day, a way of saying, "We are still here. We are still alive." Some of these early festivals were tied not to rulers nor to the sun or moon alone, but to the subtle rhythms of nature itself. The rise of a rare flower, the first bloom after years of scarcity, or the return of a migrating creature, became occasions to gather and share stories. A single blossom might inspire a celebration that lasted a night, a week, or even a season, leaving its echo in the quiet memory of the forest long after the participants had departed. These were festivals of observation, festivals of wonder, marking the extraordinary in what remained ordinary. Magic, too, found its place in these gatherings. In the quiet of forgotten valleys or abandoned ruins, a faint shimmer might linger, the residue of spells and enchantments, performed to honor the land itself. Perhaps a wizard, or a small band of mystics, would guide a festival with softly chanted incantations, weaving protection or good fortune into the air. The magic of these moments was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it imbued the celebrations with a sense of continuity, binding together the hidden years with rituals that felt larger than the moment itself. Many of these festivals, though small and ephemeral, were deeply communal. They brought together disparate survivors, traveling merchants, wandering adventurers, and children of the forest in quiet harmony. A shared meal, a song, a dance in the moonlight. These were the unrecorded moments that nurtured community, forming bonds that might endure long after the festival itself faded. And even when the participants never returned to the same place, the land remembered. Echoes of laughter, footprints in the dust, a faint glimmer of magical light lingering in the trees, all these became subtle markers in Oo's secret calendar. It is here that we can begin to imagine the first hints of tradition. Some festivals may have celebrated survival itself, quietly acknowledging the passage of days uncounted. Others may have marked the natural rhythms of the world, the shifting of seasons, the slow return of warmth, the first thaw after a long winter. A festival might rise spontaneously, inspired by the beauty or strangeness of the land, only to vanish in the following year, leaving behind a memory that would survive in whispers, songs, or scattered ruins. And in this quiet, we begin to sense a rhythm, a pulse that connects these early celebrations. Each festival, no matter how fleeting, acted as a temporal anchor, a gentle marker in a world where time had no formal name. They reminded those who participated that days passed, that life endured, and that magic, in its own subtle ways, was always present. Imagine walking through a forest at night and feeling a faint warmth in the air as though the memory of a long-vanished festival lingered in the trees. Perhaps it was a faint glow over a clearing, or the whisper of a melody carried by the wind. These echoes of celebration were, in a sense, Oo's way of recording time before calendars, before rulers, before formal histories existed. Some scholars of later ages would attempt to piece together these lost festivals, reading the signs left behind in ruins, relics, and the odd surviving journal. A charred fire pit in a valley might hint at an annual gathering of travelers. A circle of stones on a hilltop could indicate a ritual honoring the first rains. Faded murals on the walls of collapsed cities might depict dances performed under moons that no longer hung in the same sky. Even when the festivals themselves were forgotten, traces remained, faint and delicate, waiting for those who knew how to look to reconstruct their significance. It is comforting, in a way, to consider that Ooo has always found moments to celebrate, even in the midst of hardship. The earliest festivals were quiet, ephemeral, and deeply human. They remind us that even when history is fractured, even when the passage of time is hidden, life continues to find ways to honor itself. In the gentle gathering of friends, in the shared observation of nature, in the soft flicker of magical light across a clearing, the hidden years of Ooo whispered their first festivals into existence. And as we drift deeper into these celebrations, we begin to notice patterns. Perhaps the land itself dictated certain rhythms, or the cosmic watchers guided the timing in ways that humans could not fully comprehend. Each festival, though seemingly small, resonated with the pulse of the world, tying together magic, memory, and survival into moments that transcended the ordinary flow of days. These were not mere parties, nor simply expressions of joy. They were the early scaffolding of Oo's secret calendar, quiet markers of time recorded in memory, magic, and the subtle choreography of nature. As we imagine these early festivals unfolding, we begin to see the quiet ingenuity of Oo's first communities. Without formal records or rulers to dictate celebrations, the people turned to the world around them. A festival might begin with the first bloom of a silver-flowered tree, its petals glowing faintly in twilight, or the arrival of a rare creature whose presence signaled a shift in the seasons. Perhaps the villagers would gather in a quiet clearing, arranging stones in delicate circles and lighting small fires, each flame a soft marker of time. Children would chase one another under the moonlight, their laughter carried on the wind, while elders hummed melodies that had no name, yet resonated with the rhythm of the land. Magic, always present in the hidden layers of Ooo, seemed to respond to these celebrations. Fireflies glimmered brighter than usual, casting ephemeral patterns over the earth. Streams might ripple in unusual ways, reflecting starlight even on cloudy nights. A faint, almost imperceptible warmth would linger in the air, as if the land itself was gently acknowledging the ritual. These subtle signs became part of the festival's meaning, guiding the participants and marking the occasion as distinct from ordinary days. And though no one might record the event in a ledger, its echo remained, etched into the memory of the world itself. The earliest festivals were also intimately connected to survival. In a world still scarred by war, where food and water could be uncertain, a shared meal became an occasion of profound importance. Simple dishes, prepared from foraged fruits or hunted game, were consumed not just to nourish the body, but to honor the continuity of life. Songs and stories accompanied these meals, reminding everyone of the days they had survived and the hope of those yet to come. It is remarkable to consider how these small, often fleeting gatherings became markers in Oo's hidden calendar, carrying the unspoken message that even in quiet uncertainty, the flow of days could still be celebrated. Some festivals were deeply tied to celestial events, though not in the structured manner of later kingdoms. Instead of a fixed date or a formal observance, the timing of celebrations was guided by natural phenomena. The sudden appearance of twin moons, a meteor shower streaking across the sky, or the soft shimmer of auroras over distant mountains. Observers would interpret these events as signs, gathering in quiet acknowledgement of their beauty and significance. A festival might last a single night or several, but its memory would linger, subtly influencing the rhythm of life in ways that formal records could never capture. And yet, even as these festivals began to form, they remained fragile, ephemeral, and deeply personal. Without formal rulers or institutions to preserve them, many would vanish with the passing of a single generation. A fire pit could collapse, a song might be forgotten, and a clearing reclaimed by the forest, erasing all evidence of the gathering. But in those brief moments of shared experience, the spirit of celebration was real, tangible, and alive. The land remembered. The magic remembered. And in its quiet way, time itself marked these moments, adding them to the hidden ledger of Oo's secret calendar. It is also worth imagining the role of wandering travelers in these early festivals. Merchants, adventurers, or curious wanderers might arrive unexpectedly, bring with them small gifts, stories from distant lands, or new songs that would mingle with the local melodies. Their presence added layers to the celebrations, introducing elements that might never be repeated, yet leaving an imprint that could subtly influence later generations. A traveler's tale of distant mountains or hidden groves could inspire new gatherings, guiding the rhythm of festivals long after the storyteller had passed. And through it all, the cosmic watchers observed. Prismo, reclining in his endless time room, may have smiled at these small, unrecorded celebrations, noting the unfolding of life in ways that only he could perceive. The cosmic owl drifted silently through the dreams of sleepers, carrying visions of these gatherings, ensuring that even when mortals forgot, the festivals endured in subtle, dreamlike form. Magic and memory intertwined, and though no ledger could record them, these festivals persisted, quietly shaping the secret calendar of Ooo, a calendar written in moments, melodies, and the soft pulse of survival. As we drift further into the quiet world of Oo's earliest festivals, it becomes clear that each gathering, however small, was a mirror of the land itself. Imagine a clearing at twilight, the soft glow of magical fireflies hovering above the grass. A circle of villagers might stand hand in hand, their shadows stretching across the forest floor, while the wind carries the faint scent of blossoms long forgotten. In such moments, the boundary between the people and the land seemed to dissolve. The forest did not merely observe, it participated. Trees swayed with deliberate grace. Streams murmured in gentle accompaniment, and even the stones beneath their feet seemed to hum softly, resonating with the rhythm of the festival. Many of these early celebrations were spontaneous, arising from the pure, unmeasured wonder of noticing something extraordinary in the ordinary. Perhaps a comet streaked silently across the sky, and villagers gathered to watch, placing candles on windowsills and marking the night with a quiet song. Maybe the first snow of the season arrived early, and the children danced through drifts, while elders offered blessings for warmth and health. These festivals were never rigidly defined. Their beauty lay in their impermanence, in the way they arose naturally from observation and reverence. They were celebrations of being alive, of existing in a world that, though scarred, continued to offer glimpses of magic and wonder. Food and drink, though humble, played a delicate role. Fruits gathered from the edges of forests, nuts cracked and shared beside fires, and herbs brewed into fragrant teas became part of the ritual. There was no banquet hall or formal table, only the simple act of sharing sustenance, a reminder that survival itself was worthy of acknowledgement. A meal shared under the stars, accompanied by soft music or gentle chanting, was a festival in its purest sense, a collective recognition of time passing, of days lived, of moments treasured. These celebrations, though rarely lasting more than a night or two, left subtle marks on memory and magic, adding threads to the fabric of Oo's secret calendar. Music and storytelling were often the heart of these festivals. Songs without names echoed through valleys, sometimes improvised, sometimes remembered from distant times, carrying fragments of histories that had no other record. A storyteller might recount the flight of a rare bird or the quiet bloom of a hidden flower, and the audience would respond with gestures, murmurs, and melodies of their own. In this gentle exchange, time was recorded not in pages or numbers, but in sound, memory, and the intimate connection between participants. Even when the songs faded into silence, they lingered in the land, becoming part of the subtle pulse of hidden years. The earliest festivals also contained a profound awareness of impermanence. Survivors knew that tomorrow was uncertain, that the world could change in an instant. And so each celebration carried a quiet, almost sacred urgency, a reminder to notice the present, to treasure the fleeting moments of beauty that arose amidst hardship. In this way, Oo's secret calendar began to take shape, not as a rigid measure of days and months, but as a living, breathing record of experience, memory, and magic. The festivals of these early centuries were the pulse of that calendar, subtle yet unbroken, shaping the rhythm of life long before formal kingdoms or structured timekeeping merged. Even in the absence of rulers or scholars, some communities began to notice patterns. Certain festivals, though informal, reappeared seasonally, guided by nature and magic rather than decree. The first frost, the early bloom of a moonflower, the migration of a particular bird, These became markers, subtle anchors in a landscape where conventional time had no hold. Over years, they grew into gentle cycles, recurring patterns that provided comfort and continuity, even if the precise reasons were forgotten. A festival might be held one night simply because the wind carried a familiar scent, or the stars aligned in a way that felt meaningful. And in such quiet observances, the earliest structure of Oo's secret calendar slowly emerged, invisible yet tangible, flowing like the currents of a hidden river beneath the surface of daily life. Travelers played a continuing role in these delicate celebrations. A wandering merchant or adventurer might introduce a new melody, a new gesture, or a small magical artifact. Their presence was fleeting, yet their influence lingered, subtly altering the form or timing of the festival. A song learned from a visitor might become part of the local ritual, passed down through generations, even if no one ever recorded its origin. In this way, the festivals were living, adaptive entities, evolving with each iteration, yet always remaining connected to the land, the magic, and the quiet flow of hidden years. And beyond the mortal participants, the cosmic watchers observed silently. The cosmic owl drifted through dreams, catching glimpses of these gatherings, noting the small joys and the ephemeral ceremonies. Prismo, reclining in his timeless room, might record the unfolding of these celebrations with a gentle, unhurried awareness, ensuring that even when forgotten by those who lived them, the essence of these festivals persisted. Magic itself seemed to lean in, subtle and soft, responding to the joy, reverence, and awareness of those who took part. Even the wind and the rivers, the forests and the mountains, seemed attuned to the rhythm of celebration, echoing and amplifying it in ways that defied ordinary perception. It is in this delicate interplay between humans, magic, nature, and cosmic attention that we can truly appreciate the festivals that once were. They were not grand spectacles with banners and feasts recorded in books, but intimate, ephemeral gatherings, quietly acknowledging the passage of time. They were the first markers of Oo's secret calendar, subtle and unassuming, yet profoundly enduring. Through song, story, ritual, and the attentive presence of magic, the hidden years of Ooo began to take on shape, rhythm, and continuity, forming a foundation upon which the traditions of later ages would grow. As we float deeper into the memory of these early festivals, it becomes clear that their beauty lay not only in their gatherings, but in their quiet attunement to the natural and magical rhythms of Ooo. The people, without written calendars or formal timekeeping, began to notice subtle signs that guided the timing of their celebrations. A shift in the wind, the shimmer of starlight across a river, the gentle rise and fall of the moon. These became markers, subtle yet profound, guiding when to gather and when to honor the world's ongoing cycles. In this way, even in the absence of recorded dates, the land itself became a living calendar. Imagine a festival held beneath the first full moon of a season. Villagers might light small lanterns that floated like gentle stars, casting their reflections upon the water. Children would run along the riverbanks, tossing petals into the current, while the elders hummed quiet melodies meant to honor the rhythm of night and day. The glow of magic, faint and warm, would weave through the gathering, touched by the songs and movement of those who participated. Though no parchment recorded the event, the night itself remembered, storing its essence in the subtle currents of the world. These celebrations were not limited to what we might think of as ordinary time. Certain festivals coincided with rare celestial events, such as the alignment of distant moons or the sudden appearance of auroras in the sky. The cosmic owl, ever drifting through dreams, may have watched over these moments, ensuring that the memory of the festival carried forward in dreams, even when the participants themselves forgot. In a quiet, almost imperceptible way, the cosmic and the mundane intertwined. Magic, nature, and human awareness blended to form a temporal rhythm that transcended the ordinary counting of days. Some gatherings marked life's subtle transitions rather than grand seasonal changes. A first snowfall, an unusually warm dawn, or the gentle blooming of a hidden flower could all inspire festival, each one ephemeral yet meaningful. Villagers would dance softly, their steps tracing patterns that mirrored the flow of the wind, while songs without words drifted through the night air. In these moments, time seemed to stretch and bend, measured not by hours or months, but by presence, by wonder, by shared awareness. Every gesture, every note, every flicker of light was a record, a quiet imprint on the hidden calendar of Ooo. Even after the passing of a festival, traces remained. Fire pits, now cold and covered in moss, whispered of songs once sung. Stones arranged in circles hinted at dances performed under moonlight. Paths through the forest, worn into gentle grooves, spoke of processions that wound through trees and over streams. Though the participants themselves may have moved on, the land remembered. Magic itself acted as a guardian of memory, preserving the faint echoes of these moments for centuries to come. It is in these lingering traces that the earliest structure of Oo's secret calendar can be glimpsed. A rhythm recorded not in ink, but in living memory, in magic, and in the quiet pulse of the land. Travelers and wanderers added richness to these festivals. A passing bard might introduce a new melody, a wandering magician might leave a subtle enchantment, or a child from a distant village might share a tale never before heard. These contributions were fleeting, yet they layered the celebrations with depth, creating connections between far-flung communities. Over time, these threads would weave into the fabric of Oo's festivals, blending the mundane and the magical, the observed and the imagined. Even when the origin of a song or ritual was forgotten, its resonance endured, carried forward in subsequent gatherings. The ephemeral nature of these celebrations, however, did not diminish their significance. In fact, it made each festival more precious, each moment more luminous. Participants understood, perhaps instinctively, that these gatherings were not permanent, that the world might shift again in an instant. Yet the act of celebrating in the moment was its own form of endurance. In these delicate, fleeting rituals, the hidden years were honored, the land acknowledged, and magic subtly affirmed. The festivals that once were became not only markers of survival, but of reverence for the delicate passage of time itself. We can also imagine how these early festivals shaped the cultural memory of Ooo for ages to come. Even when formal kingdoms arose, when calendars were written, and rulers set official dates, echoes of these early gatherings remained, buried beneath layers of tradition. Songs carried through generations, rituals subtly mirrored in later celebrations, and the awareness that the natural and magical worlds hold rhythms beyond human measurement. All these are legacies of the first festivals, quietly shaping the hidden calendar of Ooo. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect is that these festivals existed without expectation of permanence. There were no kings or historians to codify them, no scribes to write their dates. Their value lay in their experience, in the shared presence of participants, in the way they harmonized with the pulse of the land. Magic, nature, and human awareness collaborated to create temporal markers that would outlast any mortal record, leaving their subtle imprint on the invisible ledger of Oo's hidden years. And so, as we gently close this chapter of Forgotten Gatherings, we see that Oo's earliest festivals were far more than simple celebrations. They were living expressions of memory, rhythm, and magic, quietly marking the passage of time when conventional calendars were lost. They carried the pulse of hidden years, whispered their significance into the forests, rivers, and skies, and laid the foundation for the seasons, rituals, and traditions that would flourish in later ages. The festivals that once were small, delicate, and fleeting, yet they endure in the heartbeat of the land, in the subtle echo of songs long forgotten, and in the gentle magic that continues to flow through Ooo. As we drift further into the quiet currents of Oo's hidden histories, we now turn our gaze upward to the night sky. Imagine lying on soft moss beneath an endless canopy of stars, where the moon casts gentle silver light over silent forests and still rivers. Tonight we explore how Oo's earliest observers, long before formal calendars or rulers, found meaning not only in the cycles of the sun and seasons, but in the movements of celestial bodies, the moon, the stars, and the subtle patterns that whispered of hidden time. In the aftermath of the Great Mushroom War, the land itself seemed attuned to cosmic rhythms, as if the very skies carried the memory of ages uncounted. Survivors wandering through the quiet forests or resting beside glimmering rivers noticed patterns in the heavens that others might have overlooked. The waxing and waning of the moon, shifting subtly each night, became a gentle pulse to guide the passage of time. Even without formal measurement, those who watched carefully could sense the rhythm of days and nights, and with each cycle, a sense of continuity began to emerge. Imagine for a moment a small village at the edge of a forest clearing. The night is still and the moon, unusually bright, hangs low above the horizon. Villagers gather silently, eyes lifted, noticing its glow and the way its reflection ripples on the water. Perhaps a soft chant arises, a song that honors the moon's journey across the sky, or a ritual gesture marking the night as special. In such quiet acknowledgement, time itself gains meaning. The lunar cycles become more than just a measure of nights. They become markers of survival, celebration, and the subtle weaving of memory into the world. Stars, too, played their role in Oo's earliest understanding of time. They traced arcs across the heavens night after night, forming patterns that could guide travelers, hint at seasonal changes, or inspire wonder in those willing to watch. A particularly bright star might appear during a festival, its presence woven into songs and stories, leaving a faint echo in the memory of the land. Over generations, these observations became subtle indicators for gathering, for planting, for ritual, and for marking the passage of hidden years. The relationship between the lunar and the terrestrial was never rigid. Nights were not divided into strict hours, nor months into precise days. Instead, the moon's glow, its shifting shape, and its dance with the stars created a rhythm that was at once gentle and profound. Those attuned to this rhythm could sense when it was time to gather, when a festival should rise, or when a ritual would have the greatest resonance. In this way, the heavens themselves became a guide, a quiet and reliable clock that operated outside the constraints of human record-keeping. Magic, subtle yet ever-present, intertwined with these celestial observations. A wizard or a mystic might notice a particular alignment of stars and perform a gentle spell, guiding the flow of energy through the land. Perhaps the moonlight itself was harnessed in soft enchantments, encouraging growth in plants, health in animals, or harmony among communities. Even the rivers seemed to respond, reflecting the moon's path in delicate ripples that mirrored the sky. In this interplay, the cosmic and the terrestrial worked together, creating a rhythm of hidden time, a pulse that the inhabitants of Ooo could feel even when they could not measure it precisely. Consider the cosmic owl, drifting silently through dreams as it carried visions of lunar cycles and star alignments to those receptive to them. Dreams became a channel through which the hidden calendar was reinforced, carrying knowledge of celestial rhythms to those who might use it in their festivals or daily lives. Perhaps a dream would hint at the arrival of a rare meteor shower or suggest the precise moment when a hidden flower would bloom under a particular phase of the moon. In these quiet, almost imperceptible ways, the cosmos participated in the weaving of Oo's secret calendar. Even the less obvious celestial phenomena left their mark. Comets, meteors, and auroras became rare but powerful temporal markers, often inspiring spontaneous gatherings or small celebrations. A meteor streaking across the sky might be seen as a messenger, its passage acknowledged with whispered songs or simple gestures. An aurora, soft and glowing, could signal the turning of the season or the arrival of subtle magic in a particular valley. In these moments, the heavens acted as both guide and storyteller, reminding Oo's inhabitants that time, though invisible, had a pulse, a rhythm, and a presence that could be felt if only one paid attention. Patterns in the night sky, while subtle, often influence the form and timing of festivals. Observers noticed alignments between stars and the moon, or the appearance of certain celestial bodies at particular moments of the year. These alignments might inspire communal gatherings, quiet rituals, or meditative practices. Even without formal knowledge of astronomy, the careful attention of those attuned to the heavens allowed them to anticipate changes, predict cycles, and mark time in ways that were both practical and deeply magical. The celestial rhythms became a framework, a subtle scaffolding for Oo's hidden calendar. And through it all, the land itself responded. Forests, rivers, mountains, and valleys seemed to recognize these rhythms, subtly aligning their cycles with the heavens. Trees might bloom in synchronization with the moon. Streams shimmer with the reflected light of particular stars, and the wind might carry songs at times when the cosmic alignment was perfect. In this quiet, magical harmony, Oo's earliest inhabitants lived not in a world governed by rigid schedules, but in a world that moved organically with the gentle pulse of the lunar and celestial forces. As we drift further into the quiet mysteries of Oo's skies, it becomes clear that the celestial bodies were not merely decorative or distant. They were guides, teachers, and markers of hidden time. Villagers and travelers alike learned to read subtle cues from the heavens. A crescent moon, delicate and luminous, might signal the ideal moment to plant a rare herb or prepare a ritual fire. A full moon's gentle glow could mark the peak of a festival, when songs and dances reached their quiet crescendo beneath its silver light. Even the faintest shimmer of stars in a particular formation could inspire offerings, songs, or acts of remembrance, each contributing to the ongoing rhythm of Oo's secret calendar. Magic entwined with these observations amplified their significance. A simple chant under the moon might encourage growth in crops, or call forth the migration of forest creatures who had been absent for years. A few well-placed stones in a clearing could channel energy, aligning terrestrial rhythms with the lunar cycles in ways imperceptible to the untrained eye. Over a generation, such practices formed a delicate, living structure for marking time. The calendar of Ooo was not inscribed on paper or stone, but traced in moonlight, starlight, and the quiet pulse of magic running through forests, rivers, and mountains. The influence of celestial events also extended to festivals and communal gatherings. Early communities noticed that certain alignments in the sky coincided with particularly fertile seasons or times when the weather was unusually calm. These moments became opportunities to come together, to celebrate survival, to honor the subtle gifts of the world. A meteor streaking silently across the night sky could transform an ordinary night into a sacred event, a shared wonder that connected humans, animals, and magic in one quiet, luminous experience. In these instances, the heavens acted as both calendar and storyteller, silently dictating when life itself should be acknowledged and honored. Even subtle shifts in the sky could carry meaning. The slow drift of a constellation across the horizon, repeated night after night, became a gentle marker of months passing. Observers attuned to these rhythms could anticipate changes in weather, the arrival of rains, or the blooming of hidden flowers. Without the trappings of formal timekeeping, they relied on careful observation and communal memory to navigate the flow of days. The patterns in the sky became guides, and their rhythms were woven into the festivals, rituals, and quiet daily practices of life. The celestial influence was not confined to human perception alone. Forests, rivers, and mountains seemed to respond to the rhythm of the heavens. Trees might sway in subtle synchrony with moonlight, and rivers shimmered as though reflecting the stars themselves. Even the smallest creatures seemed aware of these patterns, migrating or foraging in ways that mirrored celestial cycles. In this way, the land itself participated in the secret calendar, creating an intricate interplay between the observable world and the unseen forces of the cosmos. Dreams became another channel for understanding these celestial patterns. The cosmic owl, ever drifting through the subconscious minds of sleepers, may have carried visions of the night sky, revealing subtle shifts and alignments that guided rituals or inspired new gatherings. A dream might hint at the appearance of a rare comet, or the precise moment when a lunar phase would coincide with a hidden bloom. Such dreams offered guidance and quiet reassurance, helping to anchor communities to the flow of time even when conventional markers were lost. Through centuries, these observations slowly shaped a deeper understanding of temporal rhythm. The moon, stars, and rare celestial events offered more than inspiration. They provided a framework for Oo's earliest timekeeping. It was not precise in the way modern clocks measure hours and minutes, but it was precise enough for survival, for ritual, and for the continuity of festivals and communal gatherings. Each phase, each alignment, became a natural anchor, a subtle pulse in the hidden calendar that would endure far beyond any single generation. And so the lunar and celestial bodies became quiet teachers, invisible yet influential, guiding life in harmony with magic and memory. They wove their cycles into the rhythm of festivals, the timing of rituals, and the gentle structuring of days and months. Oo's secret calendar was no longer entirely hidden in the land or in memory alone. It now stretched upward into the night sky, entwined with the moon's soft glow, the shimmer of distant stars, and the subtle pulse of cosmic magic flowing through all things. As we continue to gaze upward into Oo's night sky, it becomes clear that not all celestial events were regular or predictable. Some were rare, fleeting, and carried a sense of quiet awe that transformed ordinary nights into moments of profound significance. A comet might appear only once in a generation, its passage traced silently across the heavens. Villagers would gather in forest clearings or on hilltops, lying back to watch its soft arc, feeling the subtle pulse of magic in the air. The comet's presence was interpreted as a gentle message from the cosmos, a marker that a special moment in time had arrived, worthy of acknowledgement even if only through quiet observation. Auroras, too, played a mystical role. Their shimmering colors, delicate and ever-shifting, inspired awe and reverence. Some elders believed that the auroras were the whispers of forgotten festivals, faint echoes of celebrations from centuries past that still lingered in the magic of the world. A night lit by these gentle curtains of light might prompt gatherings, songs, or dances, performed softly beneath their glow, Even the faintest movement of color across the sky could be enough to initiate a communal acknowledgement of time passing, marking a subtle yet meaningful page in Oo's secret calendar. The phases of the moon, while more regular, carried layered significance in these early celebrations. A crescent might symbolize beginnings, guiding rituals for planting, growth, or healing. The full moon often inspired communal gatherings, festivals of shared light and song. And the waning moon, quiet and reflective, provided moments for remembrance, for honoring those lost or acknowledging the passage of hidden years. In this way, the lunar cycle acted as a gentle rhythm, a soft heartbeat guiding the ebb and flow of human activity and magical observances. Stars, seemingly constant yet full of subtle change, also contributed to Oo's temporal rhythms. Patterns in the sky could indicate seasonal shifts, migration times, or the optimal moments for ritual. Constellations acted as guides for travelers and as markers for festival timing. Occasionally, an unusual alignment would occur, a rare conjunction of planets or a bright star appearing alongside the moon. That became the inspiration for a new festival or ritual. These rare celestial events added layers of depth and meaning to life in Ooo, reminding the inhabitants that even in a broken, post-war world, the cosmos continued its gentle, unerring cycle. Even the winds and the waters seemed to respond to these celestial phenomena. A stream might shimmer more brightly under the light of a full moon, reflecting patterns of stars that only the most observant could notice. Forests, too, seemed to sway in subtle rhythm with cosmic alignment, as if the land itself were dancing quietly in harmony with the heavens. Animals, too, showed awareness. Birds might migrate in unusual patterns when a comet appeared, or nocturnal creatures might awaken in synchrony with the auroras. In this way, life itself, both mundane and magical, moved in concert with the celestial cycles, creating a living, breathing rhythm that quietly structured time. Dreams remained an essential conduit for understanding these cosmic patterns. The cosmic owl, ever drifting through sleep, carried visions of stars, comets, and moon phases into the minds of dreamers. A dream might reveal the precise night for a festival, the optimal time for planting, or the quiet arrival of a rare celestial alignment. These visions allowed the inhabitants of Ooo to harmonize their lives with cosmic events, ensuring that even without formal calendars or structured timekeeping, the rhythm of the heavens could guide them. The dreams acted as a subtle bridge, linking observation, magic, and memory. Some of the most profound celestial phenomena were ephemeral and subtle. A meteor shower might streak silently across the sky, unnoticed by those not attuned to the land, yet offering a gentle reminder that time was moving in ways beyond human measurement. Soft glimmers of magical light might appear in the forest during certain alignments, hinting at the interplay between earth, magic, and sky. These occurrences were never forced or demanded. They were quiet invitations to recognize the subtle choreography of time, to participate in a rhythm that had persisted for centuries, quietly shaping life in Ooo long before kings, scholars, or written histories arrived. It is here that we begin to understand the profound integration of the celestial with Oo's secret calendar. The moon, stars, comets, and auroras were not merely points of beauty in the sky. They were temporal anchors, subtle guides, and sacred markers. Communities learned to observe, interpret, and celebrate these events, tying them to festivals, rituals, and quiet acts of remembrance. The land itself, attuned to these cosmic patterns, became part of the record, ensuring that even fleeting celebrations left lasting impressions. Time, though invisible and often forgotten, was gently chronicled in light, shadow, and memory. Even the smallest gestures during these celestial moments mattered. A soft song hummed under the full moon, a prayer whispered to a passing comet, or the careful placement of stones to mirror the stars' alignment contributed to the hidden rhythm of Ooo. These seemingly modest acts collectively formed a subtle ledger, a framework that would endure, linking generations, communities, and magical forces. The celestial was not simply decoration. It was a vital part of life, intimately connected to the measurement of hidden years, the timing of festivals, and the enduring pulse of the land itself. As we linger beneath the endless expanse of Oo's night sky, it becomes evident that these celestial rhythms were far more than mere spectacle. They were a quiet language, a delicate framework through which the hidden years could be understood, even when the land itself seemed fractured and human memory faltering. The moon, in all its phases, guided planting, rituals, and quiet acts of reflection. Stars whispered the passage of time, tracing subtle arcs that could mark months or hint at the coming of seasonal change. And rare phenomena, comets, auroras, meteors, became luminous markers of extraordinary moments, moments that communities instinctively honored, even without formal decree or record. In these observations, the people of Ooo found a kind of gentle certainty. While the world below could be unpredictable, wild, and scarred, the heavens offered continuity, a steady pulse that could be felt if one only took the time to notice. Communities aligned themselves with the rhythms above, holding festivals under the light of the full moon, whispering songs to the stars, or performing quiet, magical rituals at the moment a comet graced the sky. Each action, though small and often impermanent, was a way of acknowledging the passage of time, embedding it into memory and into the subtle magic of the land. Even the rarest celestial events had profound influence. A comet's trajectory might inspire a festival remembered only in whispers, a single night when magic, memory, and cosmic observation intertwined. Auroras could illuminate a hidden grove, prompting spontaneous gatherings or rituals of gratitude. And the faint movement of stars across the night sky created a rhythm for navigation, for planning, and for marking the quiet, imperceptible turning of months and years. These were not moments governed by strict measurement. They were moments experienced fully, observed deeply, and remembered subtly, like a soft echo carried on the wind. Magic intertwined seamlessly with these celestial rhythms. Wizards, mystics, and even attuned villagers could sense subtle currents of energy that shifted with lunar phases and the alignment of stars. A ritual performed under a waning moon might encourage reflection or remembrance, while one under a waxing moon could nurture growth and renewal. Even animals seemed attuned to these rhythms. Nocturnal creatures moved in harmony with moonlight, while migratory birds timed their journeys with the stars. The land itself, alive with lingering magic from centuries past, resonated with the celestial pulse, creating a subtle but enduring ledger of hidden time. Dreams acted as an invisible bridge between cosmic observation and human memory. The cosmic owl, drifting quietly through the sleeping minds of Oo's inhabitants, carried visions of stars, moons, and comets to those who could perceive them. These dreams might hint at an optimal night for a festival, reveal subtle connections between distant celestial events, or suggest timing for planting and gathering. In this gentle way, knowledge of cosmic rhythms was passed along, even when conscious memory failed. Time was recorded not in ink or stone, but in the quiet impressions of dreams, in the resonance of magic, and in the attentive observation of the natural world. This blending of celestial awareness, magic, and human ritual created a rhythm that was enduring and self-reinforcing. Festivals and rituals, guided by moonlight and starlight, became predictable, yet organic, tied to a natural and magical pulse rather than to rulers or bureaucracies. Even when centuries passed and human communities changed or vanished, the celestial markers remained. Comets returned after long intervals, auroras shimmered in quiet cycles, and the moon waxed and waned faithfully, providing a continuity that stitched together generations and hidden histories. Over time, these celestial rhythms coalesced into a subtle framework that would eventually inform the full secret calendar of Ooo. Observing the moon, stars, and rare cosmic events allowed early communities to structure their festivals, anticipate seasonal shifts, and synchronize rituals across scattered lands. They learned to perceive time as a living, breathing entity, one recorded in light, shadow, and the quiet pulse of the cosmos rather than in numbers or dates. Even as kingdoms arose, cities were built, and formal histories were recorded. The influence of lunar and celestial cycles remained, a gentle foundation upon which all later timekeeping was built. And so as we slowly drift toward the conclusion of this segment, it is clear that Oo's night sky has always been more than decoration. It is a ledger, a guide, and a living memory. Each moon phase, each pattern of stars, each fleeting comet or shimmering aurora carries subtle information, quietly marking the passage of time and guiding life below. Magic, land, and observation work together to preserve these rhythms, ensuring that even when human memory faltered, the pulse of hidden years persisted. In this way, the lunar and celestial forces became inseparable from Oo's secret calendar. Festivals, rituals, and quiet observances arose in harmony with the cosmos, grounding communities in time and providing a subtle, enduring rhythm for generations to come. The heavens, though distant, were ever present, silently chronicling the passage of hidden years, shaping the timing of celebration, and reminding all who watched that even in a fractured world, time endures quietly, gently, and profoundly. If you close your eyes and imagine the world as it once was, you might sense a land quietly marking its own passage, where seasons shifted slowly, sometimes almost imperceptibly, and entire ages unfolded in near silence. Tonight, we explore the seasonal shifts and the forgotten ages, times in Ooo that left little trace, yet shaped the very pulse of life, magic, and memory that continues to echo through the land. In the earliest centuries after the Mushroom War, the scars of conflict were still evident, yet life found ways to endure. Forests grew in quiet cycles, rivers carved new paths through the land, and creatures adapted to rhythms that predated human observation. Seasons, though recognizable, often arrived in unusual patterns, influenced by lingering magic, the aftermath of cataclysm, and the subtle sway of cosmic forces. Winter might linger longer in one valley, while spring arrived early in another. Summer could blaze across a region unexpectedly, only to retreat as quietly as it appeared. In this shifting, sometimes unpredictable flow, Oo's inhabitants learned to attune themselves to subtle signs. The emergence of particular flowers, the migration of animals, or the quiet change in the quality of sunlight through trees. These seasonal rhythms, delicate and variable, became a framework for early understanding of time. Villagers, nomads, and wandering communities observed carefully, noting patterns and cycles that could guide planting, gathering, and survival. Rituals often aligned with these natural shifts. A festival might be held not because a date was written in a ledger, but because the first frost revealed crystals upon the leaves in a way that seemed sacred. A ritual might mark the arrival of migratory birds whose return symbolized abundance, or the quiet fall of autumn leaves, signifying a time for remembrance and reflection. In these practices, time was not rigid, but alive, fluid, and intimately connected to the land itself. It is important to consider that not all seasonal changes were benign or gentle. Some carried danger, scarcity, or the subtle imprint of a world still healing from past calamities. A harsh winter could sweep unexpectedly across valleys, driving communities to seek shelter, conserve resources, and lean on one another for survival. In these times, quiet rituals and observances took on an almost protective role, honoring the rhythms of nature while asking for guidance, safety, or small miracles to endure the cold. Magic, always present yet subtle, was woven into these seasonal practices. A simple charm whispered beneath a frost-covered tree could encourage warmth, protect crops, or call forth animals to the village edges. The interplay of magic and observation allowed the people of Ooo to navigate these challenging shifts, creating an invisible ledger of survival across hidden years. Forgotten ages are woven into these seasonal patterns. There are centuries in Ooo where little record survives, where the flow of time left almost no traces except the quiet memory embedded in the land itself. Valleys became forests, rivers shifted course, and mountains subtly eroded, silently documenting the passage of decades. In these forgotten ages, communities rose and fell, their songs, rituals, and quiet observances echoing only faintly in the wind, or in the shimmer of magic that lingered long after humans or creatures had moved on. A single stone circle, now overgrown, might once have been the center of annual gatherings, its purpose lost to the centuries. Yet its magic persists, quietly influencing the pulse of the world. The land itself is an archive of these lost times. Forests retain the memory of blooms that no longer flower. Streams remember the soft footsteps of vanished communities, and mountains bear the subtle traces of forgotten rituals carved into their slopes. Even the smallest details, the patterns in moss, the quiet echoes of songs in canyons, or the shimmer of light across a hidden pond, act as markers, whispering of lives lived and rhythms observed long before formal history was recorded. For those attuned to these signs, the land itself offers a map of Oo's hidden ages, a living, breathing ledger of time that requires careful observation, patience, and quiet contemplation. Magic and memory are inseparable in these forgotten ages. Subtle enchantments placed centuries ago might influence the growth of forests or the behavior of animals, creating patterns that communities came to recognize as guides for living. A tree might bloom at a particular time each year, not only because of natural rhythm, but because lingering magic encouraged it, forming a living marker for ritual, festival, or observance. Streams might reflect starlight in unusual ways, or stones might hum softly under moonlight, marking times when hidden ceremonies once occurred. In these ways, the seasonal shifts became entwined with magical memory, allowing life in Ooo to retain continuity even when written records were absent. These forgotten ages also provided opportunities for quiet reflection, for the cultivation of wisdom and understanding. Observers learned patience, attunement, and subtlety, recognizing that time was not always measured in days or months, but in cycles of growth, decay, and renewal. Each season became a teacher, offering lessons in resilience, adaptation, and awareness of the hidden currents that shaped the world. Communities learned to read the signs and subtle changes of light, temperature, and movement, building a living calendar rooted in observation and memory rather than ink or stone. It is in these moments of quiet attunement that festivals, rituals, and celebrations emerged organically, often tied to subtle seasonal shifts rather than fixed dates. The first frost might inspire a night of reflection, the early bloom of a hidden flower a gathering of gratitude, and the return of migratory creatures a festival of abundance. Even when the precise reasons for these celebrations were forgotten, their echoes persisted, influencing the rhythms of later communities and leaving traces in the landscape, magic, and memory. As we continue to drift through the forgotten ages, it becomes clear that these centuries of quiet observation were not empty or meaningless. Even when no chronicler recorded the days and no ruler marked the passage of years, the land itself preserved subtle traces of time. Valleys, forests, and rivers acted as natural archives, silently documenting shifts in climate, the ebb and flow of life, and the quiet pulses of magic that moved unseen beneath the surface of the world. A particular grove might always bloom slightly earlier than its neighbors, carrying within it centuries of subtle magical influence, or a river might trace an unusual course, recording the slow effects of forgotten floods and storms. Inhabitants of Ooo learned to read these patterns with care. They noticed when the wind shifted in unusual ways, when the light of dawn fell differently across familiar stones, or when a familiar bird arrived earlier or later than expected. These observations were woven into a delicate tapestry of understanding, informing both survival and celebration. Planting, harvesting, and gathering were no longer arbitrary. They were guided by subtle cues embedded in the landscape and reinforced through generations of quiet attentiveness. Even when human memory faltered, magic, land, and careful observation ensured continuity. Some of the forgotten ages were marked by particularly unusual seasonal phenomena. A winter that stretched unnaturally long could slow the growth of plants and the migration of animals, prompting extended periods of reflection and caution. Conversely, an early spring might bring sudden abundance, encouraging gatherings, song, and ritual as the community celebrated its survival and the return of life to the land. These irregularities, though challenging, were never chaotic. They carried meaning and rhythm for those willing to attune themselves, forming subtle markers in the hidden calendar of Ooo. Magic, as always, played a quiet role in these shifting seasons. Enchantments placed long ago, sometimes by communities long vanished, influenced the growth of plants, the flow of rivers, and the behavior of animals, creating patterns that could be interpreted as signs, guides, or gentle prompts for ritual. Perhaps a glimmering stone, left by a forgotten wizard centuries earlier, caused a rare flower to bloom under a certain moon phase, giving early observers a marker for planting or celebration. Or a subtle enchantment might align a hidden spring with the arrival of migratory creatures, signaling the right time for gathering and ceremony. In these ways, magic and memory intertwined, preserving continuity across centuries that might otherwise have been lost. Even the quietest, most subtle seasonal markers could inspire communal observances. The gentle rustle of leaves signaling a shift from summer to autumn might lead to a reflective gathering, a night of songs and shared stories meant to honor the passage of time and the continuity of life. A sudden rainfall after a long dry spell might spark a ritual of gratitude, acknowledging the unseen forces sustaining the land. These small, seemingly ordinary events carried profound meaning, connecting communities to the land, to one another, and to the broader rhythms of Oo's hidden years. In these forgotten ages, knowledge was carried orally through observation and experience, rather than written records. Elders passed subtle signs to the young, the way to recognize a rare bloom, the subtle shift of wind that heralded rain, the quiet alignment of stars that suggested the time for ritual. Festivals were improvised from these observations, often lasting a single night, yet leaving an enduring imprint on memory, magic, and the land itself. Even after the participants had moved on or passed away, the influence of their gatherings persisted in the subtle pulse of seasonal rhythm. It is fascinating to consider that the hidden calendar of Ooo was, in many ways, built from these forgotten ages. Without kings, historians, or formal structures, time was recorded through lived experience, careful observation, and the gentle guidance of magic. Each seasonal shift, each unusual weather pattern, each subtle change in flora or fauna became a quiet marker, a thread in a larger tapestry that could be read by those attuned to the land. Over centuries, these threads formed a rhythm, a pulse, a calendar not written in ink, but in light, wind, water, and memory. Even moments of scarcity, harsh weather, or unexpected change contributed to this rhythm. Communities learned resilience, patience, and observation, qualities that became embedded in the culture and memory of Ooo. Survival was intimately tied to understanding the flow of hidden time, recognizing that each season brought its own lessons, challenges, and subtle guides. The forgotten ages, though quiet and often overlooked, were rich with knowledge, rhythm, and magic, laying the foundation for the structured festivals, rituals, and cosmic observations that would flourish in later eras. As we drift further into the quiet echoes of these forgotten ages, it becomes clear that not all seasonal shifts were immediately understood. Some were subtle, almost imperceptible, yet they carried profound significance for those who were attentive. A gentle early frost might signal the need for reflection, a preparation for the long months ahead. A rare bloom in the dead of winter could be interpreted as a quiet blessing, a reminder that even in hardship, life persists. Communities learn to read these subtle signs, weaving them into the timing of ritual, songs, and gatherings that honored the flow of the world around them. There were seasons when magic itself seemed more present, infused in the shifting patterns of the land. Perhaps a hidden grove would glow faintly under a particular arrangement of stars, or a river's current would shimmer in unusual hues after a rare meteor shower. Observers noticed these patterns and incorporated them into their understanding of time. A subtle alignment of moonlight on ancient stones might indicate the optimal moment for planting rare herbs, or a shift in the wind through a mountain pass could signal the arrival of migratory creatures, prompting a festival of gratitude. In these ways, the natural and magical world became intertwined, offering guidance that required both patience and attentiveness to perceive. Even long-forgotten festivals left traces in the subtle rhythms of the land. A circle of stones, overgrown and moss-covered, might once have been the site of a seasonal gathering, where song, dance, and magic marked the turning of the year. A grove of trees might bear the faint imprint of ritual paths, their trunks scarred lightly by ceremonial carvings. Though the people who once celebrated these occasions may have vanished, the land remembered. Magic preserved the echoes of laughter, song, and ritual, allowing the hidden calendar to persist in ways that transcended written record. Some seasonal shifts were more dramatic, leaving a deeper imprint on the hidden ages. Harsh winters could delay planting, prompting nights of quiet ritual by firelight, while unusually early springs could accelerate growth and encourage early festivals of abundance. These variations required flexibility, observation, and intuition. Communities learned to trust the subtle signs carried in wind, water, and animal behavior. Even the smallest phenomena, a shift in the color of moss, the timing of a bird's song, became meaningful, offering guidance in the absence of formal records. Over centuries, these quiet observations formed a rhythm that became the backbone of Oo's hidden calendar. Each season, each subtle shift, contributed a layer of meaning. Rituals and festivals, often brief and fleeting, were embedded in these rhythms, sometimes lasting only a single night, yet leaving an enduring mark on memory, magic, and the land itself. Even when human communities changed or vanished, the subtle guidance of seasonal shifts persisted, continuing to influence life, magic, and understanding. Magic and memory worked hand in hand during these forgotten ages. Enchantments placed centuries before might subtly influence plant growth, the timing of animal migrations, or even the behavior of rivers and streams. Villagers learned to observe these magical cues alongside natural ones, developing an intuition that allowed them to live in harmony with the land and the flow of time. Dreams, too, became a channel, carrying visions of seasonal changes and hidden cycles, ensuring that knowledge was transmitted even when written records were absent. Some forgotten festivals were tied directly to these seasonal and magical shifts. A bloom that appeared once every several years might inspire a night of song and quiet ritual, commemorating both survival and the subtle guidance of the natural world. A sudden aurora, rare and ephemeral, could prompt a celebration that lasted only until the lights faded, leaving a gentle imprint on memory and magic. These ephemeral gatherings, though often unrecorded, reinforced the hidden calendar, creating a rhythm that persisted quietly through the centuries. The land itself became a living testament to these forgotten ages. Valleys and forests, rivers and mountains, all bore subtle marks of centuries of observation, ritual, and quiet magic. Observers attuned to these signs could read the land in ways that allowed them to anticipate changes, plan for survival, and maintain continuity across generations. Even when human memory failed, the pulse of seasonal rhythm persisted, embedded in soil, stone, water, and the lingering influence of magic. In this way, the forgotten ages, though silent and often overlooked, were rich with lessons. They taught patience, attentiveness, and reverence for the rhythms of life. They demonstrated the interplay between observation, magic, and memory, showing that even when formal histories were lost, life could continue in harmony with hidden patterns. The subtle markers left by seasonal shifts form the undercurrent of Oo's secret calendar, shaping the timing of rituals, festivals, and communal observances for centuries to come. As we linger in the quiet depths of these forgotten ages, it becomes clear that Oo's seasonal shifts were never entirely predictable. Yet within their unpredictability lay patterns, subtle and soft, waiting to be observed by those with patience and attention. A sudden bloom might signal hope after a long winter. A rare frost might invite reflection, ritual, or preparation. The land, attuned to both magic and memory, offered guidance to those who looked closely, embedding subtle markers in rivers, stones, and trees. Even the quietest details, the whisper of wind through a hidden valley or the gentle tremble of leaves in a shaded grove, carried information about the passage of time and the rhythm of life itself. The magic lingering from centuries past amplified these natural cues. Enchantments placed long ago by forgotten wizards or mystical creatures influenced growth, light, and sound. A river might shimmer differently under a particular alignment of the moon. A patch of forest might bloom unusually bright under the first frost, or the songs of nocturnal animals might shift in subtle patterns. Those attuned to these signs could perceive the quiet pulse of the land, allowing them to anticipate changes in season, ritual, or festival timing. Magic acted as a gentle lens, highlighting the hidden structures of time that ordinary observation alone might miss. These subtle rhythms often inspired rituals and festivals that have been lost to history, leaving only traces in the landscape and in lingering magic. A solitary stone circle, moss-covered and almost forgotten, might mark a centuries-old celebration of the first frost. A hidden glade could have been the site of a brief but meaningful gathering under the early spring moon. Even when participants vanished, their songs and dances echoed in magic, influencing the flow of life and the subtle structure of Oo's hidden calendar. These echoes were faint yet enduring, a reminder that even impermanent moments could leave lasting impressions. Rare phenomena amplified the significance of seasonal shifts. Meteor showers, auroras, and unusual alignments of stars and moons offered opportunities for celebration, reflection, or ritual. When such events coincided with seasonal cues, communities often interpreted them as moments of special resonance. Perhaps the first snowfall under the light of a rare aurora inspired a festival of quiet gratitude, or an early bloom beneath a crescent moon became the occasion for a night of song and reflection. These intersections of natural rhythm and cosmic influence were subtle yet powerful, guiding the hidden calendar and reinforcing the pulse of life in Ooo. Even the most fleeting seasonal markers carried significance. The pattern of frost along a riverbank, the timing of a bird's return, or the sudden arrival of wind through a valley could guide communal practices. Villagers, travelers, and wandering mystics learned to read these signs with care, forming an intricate and living understanding of time. Over generations, this knowledge became embedded in the land, the magic, and the memory of communities, creating a subtle yet enduring rhythm that outlasted any written record. Dreams again played a quiet role in transmitting this knowledge. The cosmic owl, drifting silently through sleep, carried visions of seasonal shifts, rare events, and magical alignments to those receptive to them. A dream could reveal the optimal moment for a festival, suggest the arrival of migratory animals, or hint at a subtle change in the land that required attention. In this way, even when the physical record of time was lost, the rhythm of hidden years was preserved in memory, magic, and dreams. Through centuries of observation and quiet ritual, the seasonal shifts and forgotten ages formed a rhythm that would eventually underlie Oo's secret calendar. The interplay of natural cycles, rare phenomena, lingering magic, and careful attention allowed communities to navigate time without formal measurement. Festivals, rituals, and celebrations emerged organically, tied to the pulse of the land and the subtle cues of the world above. Even as kingdoms rose and fell, the influence of these hidden cycles endured, quietly shaping the timing of human, magical, and natural activity. In essence, the forgotten ages were not empty. They were filled with subtle lessons, whispered through frost, bloom, wind, and water. Communities learned to live in harmony with seasonal rhythms, attuned to both natural and magical cues. The land itself recorded these rhythms, ensuring continuity, even when human memory faded. Each festival, each ritual, and each observance became part of a larger structure, a gentle framework for understanding time in a world where conventional calendars had yet to take hold. And so, as we close this chapter of seasonal shifts and forgotten ages, we begin to perceive how deeply intertwined Oo's land, magic, and communities were with the passage of time. The hidden years were alive in every bloom, frost, and river bend, preserved through observation, ritual, and quiet magic. They laid the foundation for a calendar that was more than numbers or dates. It was a living, breathing rhythm of the world itself, connecting the mundane, the magical, and the cosmic in a subtle yet enduring pulse. In the shadows of forests, within the hollows of mountains, and in the quiet hum of magical streams, there existed entities, beings, and subtle currents of magic that functioned as the silent archivists of Ooo. They recorded events, observed cycles, and preserved histories, not in books or scrolls, but in ways far more delicate, subtle, and enduring. Tonight we will explore these quiet custodians who ensured that even forgotten ages, fleeting festivals, and rare celestial alignments were remembered, if only softly, by the pulse of the world. In the earliest times, when human and humanoid settlements were scattered and fleeting, the land itself acted as the first archivist. Trees preserved centuries in their rings, and the shape of riverbeds echoed patterns of floods and droughts long past. A forest left undisturbed could remember generations through subtle markers, the height of undergrowth, the presence of rare blossoms, or the quiet paths carved by animals that had come and gone. These natural archivists did not record with ink or stone, but with time itself, allowing anyone attuned to the land to read the past through observation and quiet attention. Magic played a quiet and integral role in these records. Residual enchantments from ancient rituals, the lingering energy of once-forgotten ceremonies, and the soft hum of dormant spells all contributed to a living archive. A stone circle might vibrate faintly under moonlight, carrying echoes of festivals celebrated centuries ago. A hidden spring might shift subtly when a long-lost ritual was performed nearby, its waters reflecting patterns of magical resonance that only the observant could detect. In this way, memory and magic intertwined, creating a subtle ledger of hidden time, preserved invisibly but undeniably in the pulse of the land. Some of the most remarkable archivists were the living and the sentient. Creatures attuned to magic, time, and memory often acted as quiet custodians. The cosmic owl, drifting through dreams, is perhaps the most famous example, carrying visions of events, alignments, and forgotten rituals into the sleeping minds of those attuned to Oo's deeper rhythms. Other creatures, less visible but equally potent, might absorb the subtle flow of history through prolonged observation, storing knowledge in ways that were never consciously recorded, but subtly passed along to those who could perceive them. A fox that wandered across valleys year after year might remember hidden springs and subtle seasonal shifts, and in turn guide wanderers or observers to these markers of hidden time. Artifacts, too, became repositories of memory, subtly infused with magic or observation. A forgotten sword leaning against a tree might hum faintly with echoes of battles long past. An ancient crown, resting in the soil of a quiet ruin, might carry the gentle imprint of ceremonies and rulers now lost to memory. Even objects as small as a carved figurine or a polished stone could retain whispers of the rituals, gestures, and observations that had been performed around them. The silent archivists did not necessarily require awareness. Often, the magic embedded in these objects preserved memory passively, like ink imprinted on a page, invisible to the eye, yet accessible to those who understood the quiet language of time. Dreams remained a crucial medium for these silent archives. The cosmic owl and other dream-bound custodians ensured that knowledge of hidden festivals, rare celestial events, and subtle seasonal rhythms could be transmitted to those who were receptive. A dream might reveal the alignment of a hidden grove, the timing of a long-forgotten celebration, or the subtle pattern of wind that indicated the shift of a hidden season. These dreams allowed history to persist beyond human memory, bridging the gaps left by lost civilizations, vanished communities, and centuries of quiet, unrecorded time. Even natural phenomena acted as archivists. Rivers that carved unusual paths preserved the memory of floods or magical surges. Mountains retained the imprint of earthquakes, eruptions, or ritual gatherings. Forests absorbed the energy of past events, growing differently in areas of repeated magical activity, or marking the passage of centuries in subtle shifts of growth and decay. Observers who walked these lands with care, paying attention to light, sound, and subtle resonance, could read these markers, piecing together histories that were otherwise unrecorded, constructing the hidden timeline of Ooo. The silent archivists were not always deliberate. Many worked without awareness, their role as guardians of memory arising naturally from their attunement to time, magic, and the rhythms of the land. Animals, plants, magical objects, and even subtle currents of energy acted collectively to preserve continuity. A valley, left undisturbed for centuries, could become a living chronicle of seasonal shifts, magical phenomena, and forgotten festivals. Streams might carry traces of ritual energy downstream, while the wind might whisper echoes of ceremonies across forests. Through these combined forces, Oo's hidden history was preserved quietly and faithfully, even when human memory faltered. It is remarkable to consider that the very landscape of Ooo is itself an archive. Valleys, forests, rivers, mountains, and ruins all hold echoes of time, gently recorded in natural patterns and magical resonance. To those who attune themselves carefully, these silent archivists provide a guide to the flow of hidden years, revealing the subtle rhythms that shaped festivals, rituals, and the cycles of life. The land remembers when people forget. It preserves when written records fail. It continues when civilizations vanish, ensuring that the pulse of time remains intact, quietly, invisibly, and beautifully. As we follow the thread of these silent archivists, it becomes clear that their work was not only preservation, but subtle guidance. Memory and magic intertwined to shape the flow of life, suggesting patterns, reminding communities of festivals, and marking the passage of seasons long after the original observers had vanished. A grove of ancient trees, for instance, might direct travelers toward hidden springs or fertile soil, carrying the wisdom of centuries in its growth patterns. The arches of its branches could indicate the timing of rare blooms. The subtle inclines of its roots might mark the cycles of rainfall, and the faint shimmer of leaves under moonlight could hint at times for ritual or reflection. Certain creatures, attuned to the magic of Ooo and its hidden history, acted as living repositories of knowledge. These guardians were rarely acknowledged by communities, yet their influence was undeniable. They moved through forests, mountains, and rivers with a quiet purpose, recording seasonal changes, celestial events, and magical occurrences. A fox, a wolf, or even a more mystical being like a spectral stag might follow cycles so ancient that their memory spanned centuries. To those capable of attuning themselves to these subtle cues, these creatures were guides, connecting the present with centuries of hidden history, allowing rituals and festivals to continue in resonance with the unseen flow of time. Artifacts, too, served as custodians of memory in ways both subtle and profound. Ancient stones, buried charms, or relics of forgotten civilizations absorbed events and energies from the past. Their surfaces might shimmer faintly under moonlight, hum softly under auroras, or resonate with specific magical alignments. When a person or a creature interacted with such objects, they often received an unspoken imprint of past events, glimpses into forgotten festivals, or hints of the timing of rare celestial phenomena. The objects themselves were not conscious, yet their memory persisted, ensuring continuity across centuries. The act of observation was central to this network of silent archives. Those who paused to listen, to notice, or to record in subtle ways became participants in the preservation of time. A scholar in a quiet ruin might notice the pattern of moss on stones, or the echo of wind through an abandoned hall, piecing together the long-forgotten rhythm of a festival once celebrated there. A wanderer in a mountain pass might sense subtle changes in the sound of dripping water or the alignment of shadows, discovering markers left by previous generations to indicate the passage of months, years, or even decades. In this way, memory, magic, and attentiveness collaborated to maintain Oo's secret calendar. Dreams provided another channel for the Silent Archivists to share their knowledge. The cosmic owl, gliding through the sleeping minds of Oo's inhabitants, delivered visions of past festivals, rare celestial alignments, and long-lost seasonal shifts. Some dreams carried direct instruction, a faintly illuminated path in a forest, the correct moment to plant a rare herb, or the timing of a festival lost to written history. Others offered subtle impressions, feelings of reverence or awe tied to past events, guiding communities without the need for explicit understanding. Through dreams, the archivists ensured that knowledge could be passed across generations, even when direct observation was impossible. Magic, often intertwined with memory, amplified the work of these silent archivists. Forests, rivers, mountains, and even ruins retained echoes of magical energy from long-forgotten rituals. Certain stones hummed softly when aligned with moon phases. Streams glimmered with residual enchantment after the passage of a comet, and hidden groves preserved the faint light of festivals long extinguished. These subtle currents of energy acted as reminders of hidden time, reinforcing the continuity of Oo's secret calendar and ensuring that the pulse of forgotten years remained accessible to those attuned to the land. Some of the most mysterious archivists were not creatures or objects, but subtle currents of magical memory embedded in the world itself. Air, water, and light carried impressions of time, like a soft echo lingering across centuries. A gentle breeze might remind a wanderer of a festival celebrated long ago. The pattern of rainfall might suggest the timing of planting or ritual. The shimmer of light on a pond might carry the ghost of a ceremony, guiding those perceptive enough to recognize it. These subtle markers were everywhere, quietly preserving the flow of hidden years and bridging gaps in Oo's historical record. In essence, the Silent Archivists functioned as both memory and guide. Through creatures, objects, dreams, and magical currents, they preserved the hidden calendar of Ooo, ensuring that festivals, seasonal shifts, and celestial alignments continued to influence life, even when human attention waned. Their work was quiet, unobtrusive, and often invisible, yet it was foundational to the continuity of the land's history. Oo's hidden years, though fragmented and faint, were held together by this delicate, living web of observation, magic, and attentiveness, forming a rhythm that could endure across centuries. As we follow the subtle thread of these silent archivists, it becomes clear that their work extended beyond mere preservation. They shaped the very way time was experienced, marking not only what had passed, but suggesting what was to come. Observers learned to anticipate seasonal rhythms, magical surges, and rare celestial alignments, often guided by subtle cues embedded in the land. A particular grove might glow faintly as the first frost arrived, or a hidden pond might shimmer in alignment with a comet's passing, quietly signaling the right moment for ritual or reflection. These natural and magical markers were more than reminders. They were gentle instructions for living in harmony with the hidden flow of time. Certain beings acted as conscious archivists, though their attentiveness was quiet, patient, and often unrecognized. The cosmic owl, weaving through dreams, is perhaps the most famous, but there were countless other subtle entities. Spectral foxes, ethereal stags, and long-lived forest spirits moved through Ooo, carrying memory across centuries. Their presence preserved knowledge of rare festivals, forgotten ceremonies, and hidden seasonal patterns. They might guide a wanderer to a long-abandoned grove at the exact moment when a rare bloom appeared, or align themselves with a magical current to direct attention to a site of past ritual. To those attuned to their movements, These beings were living compasses, pointing toward continuity amidst the shifting tides of history. Artifacts also played a profound role as silent archivists, a sword leaning against a tree, a polished stone in a river, or an ancient crown lying forgotten in ruins carried subtle memories. Under moonlight or specific celestial arrangements, these objects might hum faintly, vibrate with residual energy, or even influence the growth of surrounding flora. Through touch, observation, or magical attunement, these relics transmitted faint impressions of past events, offering glimpses of festivals, rituals, and ceremonies that had long since faded from memory. They were like threads of time, woven into the very fabric of Oo's landscape, preserving continuity where words could not reach. The interplay of magic and memory extended to dreams, which acted as conduits for knowledge otherwise inaccessible. Dreamers might witness faint echoes of ceremonies under the full moon, feel the rhythm of a rare meteor shower, or perceive the subtle pulse of a hidden seasonal shift. These dreams were not always literal. Often they were impressions of timing, emotion, and significance, guiding individuals toward understanding the hidden calendar of Ooo. Through these nocturnal visions, knowledge traveled across generations, ensuring that even in the absence of formal records, the rhythm of time remained perceptible. The land itself was perhaps the most pervasive and patient archivist. Rivers remembered the course of ancient floods, streams carried whispers of rituals performed long ago, and forests retained the faint echo of celebrations in the alignment of their trees and the patterns of their undergrowth. Mountains and hills preserved subtle signs of human and magical activity, from worn paths to faint carvings in stone. Those with patience and attentiveness could read these markers, piecing together the passage of hidden years, discovering festivals, seasonal shifts, and forgotten events etched into the very shape of the land. Subtle magical currents further amplified the archivist's work. Residual enchantments from centuries past interacted with natural phenomena, creating gentle cues in light, sound, and movement. The shimmer of a river might align with the phases of the moon, a glade might glow under an aurora, or the rustle of leaves might echo the rhythm of a long-past festival. These currents were rarely obvious, yet they guided those attuned to the land with quiet precision. Even in centuries where human memory faltered, these subtle influences ensured that the pulse of Oo's hidden calendar continued uninterrupted. Some archivists were ephemeral, working through rare alignments of time, magic, and observation. A particular comet passing at a certain moon phase might awaken latent energy in a forest, briefly illuminating the site of an ancient festival. A rare bloom, appearing only once in decades, might guide a community in song and ritual. These fleeting events acted as markers, connecting past, present, and future in a delicate web of continuity. Observers learned patience, noticing patterns that repeated only subtly or sporadically, understanding that the archivists of Ooo worked in rhythms far slower than human expectation. Through all these mechanisms, creatures, artifacts, dreams, land, and subtle magical currents, the hidden years of Ooo were preserved. Knowledge was not static, but living, flowing quietly across centuries. Festivals could be forgotten in detail, yet the rhythm of their timing remained, waiting to be rediscovered by those patient enough to read the land, interpret dreams, and attune themselves to the subtle currents of magic. The secret calendar of Ooo was thus maintained not by ink or decree, but through observation, memory, and magic, quietly shaping the experience of time for all who moved through the land. Even the smallest gestures contributed to this preservation. A song hummed under a waning moon, a charm placed beneath a tree, or a quiet observation of a subtle wind shift added layers to the archive of hidden time. Each act, though fleeting and often unnoticed, reinforced the rhythm of the secret calendar. The silent archivists worked in patience and subtlety, preserving continuity in ways that were felt rather than seen, guiding life in Ooo with gentle insistence through centuries of change, loss, and renewal. As we drift deeper into the influence of these silent archivists, it becomes evident that their work is both delicate and enduring, often operating in ways too subtle for ordinary perception. Memory and magic intertwine to create a living web, a quiet network that preserved the flow of time in ways far beyond human recording. Rivers, mountains, forests, artifacts, and dreamscapes all collaborated, consciously or not, to carry forward the pulse of Oo's hidden years. Even when civilizations fell and settlements vanished, the archivists remained, ensuring continuity in ways that were unseen yet deeply felt. The most remarkable aspect of this preservation is that it was holistic. No single element acted alone. Trees held the memory of past gatherings. Streams whispered faint traces of rituals, and artifacts resonated with echoes of ceremonies long extinguished. Magical currents reinforced these imprints, subtly guiding attention to key moments and locations. Creatures attuned to the magic and rhythm of Ooo acted as living conduits, moving knowledge across space and time. Dreams allowed this information to pass to those receptive enough to perceive it, weaving the flow of hidden years into the minds of communities and individuals alike. Through this multi-layered system, Oo's secret calendar was preserved with astonishing subtlety. These archivists were patient. Some operated across centuries, storing knowledge in ways imperceptible to the untrained eye. The growth pattern of a single tree could contain information spanning hundreds of years, while a hidden spring might reflect decades of seasonal shifts. Even the smallest relics held memories. A carved figurine, a polished stone, or an abandoned tool could retain the energy of human or magical activity for centuries. When the conditions were right, when moonlight struck a stone just so, or when a comet crossed the sky, a faint resonance might reveal these memories to a careful observer. Time itself, in these instances, became a layer of perception rather than a measured sequence, and the archivists were the keepers of this perception. Some of the most poignant examples of these archives were those preserved in forgotten festivals or rituals. A celebration might occur only once every several decades, yet the magic and attention poured into it remained. Even after the participants had passed, subtle cues endured: the alignment of stones in a circle, the residual hum of magic in a grove, or the gentle shimmer of a hidden pond at dawn. These traces offered continuity, allowing future generations to reconnect with the past and reconstruct the rhythm of hidden time. Each small mark reinforced the living calendar, reminding observers that even forgotten events could leave enduring imprints. The dream realm further amplified the work of the silent archivists. The cosmic owl, moving gracefully through sleep, could illuminate visions of past events, alignments, and seasonal markers. But beyond this, dreams often transmitted the feeling of rhythm, the subtle impression of time's passage, rather than direct information. A dreamer might feel that a festival should occur when a particular flower blooms, or that ritual action is best performed during a specific alignment of stars, even if the exact details were lost. This form of memory, residing in perception and intuition, ensured that hidden patterns of time remained accessible, even when conscious memory failed. Magic and memory also intertwined in subtle natural phenomena. Streams might glimmer faintly with energy from past rituals. Forests could resonate with the echoes of long-vanished celebrations, and stones might hum when aligned with certain celestial arrangements. These phenomena were not static. They responded to the cycles of Ooo, carrying forward knowledge of festivals, seasonal rhythms, and magical alignments. Observers attuned to these signals could navigate the hidden calendar, connecting with the pulse of centuries through perception rather than measurement. Even in times of chaos, when communities vanished or natural disasters reshaped the land, the archivists ensured continuity. The memory embedded in the land, objects, creatures, and magical currents persisted, maintaining a subtle rhythm that could guide future generations. Time in Ooo was never truly lost. It was preserved in layers accessible to those patient enough to perceive it. The archivists, silent yet ever-present, wove continuity through centuries of hidden years, ensuring that the secret calendar of Ooo remained intact, waiting to be read by careful observers. In essence, the silent archivists functioned as the heartbeat of hidden time. They recorded, guided, and preserved without notice or recognition, allowing life to continue in harmony with cycles both natural and magical. They bridged centuries, connected rituals and festivals, and ensured that even forgotten ages could inform the present. Through them, the subtle rhythm of Ooo's hidden calendar flows, quietly marking the passage of time in a way that is felt rather than seen, remembered rather than written, and experienced rather than measured. As we conclude this chapter on the Silent Archivists, we can begin to appreciate the extraordinary depth of Ooo's hidden history. Time is not lost here. It is woven into the fabric of the world itself, preserved by creatures, objects, magic, and observation, flowing gently like a river through the hidden years. And as we move toward our final segment, we will see how all these threads, seasonal rhythms, celestial alignments, forgotten festivals, and silent archivists come together to form a calendar that is not just a record, but a living, breathing pulse of Ooo itself. The world we have wandered through, the hidden years, forgotten festivals, lunar rhythms, seasonal shifts, and silent archivists, all flows toward a future that is not yet written, but already quietly unfolding. The land, the magic, and the unseen currents of memory continue their gentle work, preparing the stage for cycles that will rise, repeat, and echo across the centuries to come. Tonight we drift into this quiet anticipation, observing how time in Ooo is not merely recorded, but lived, experienced, and perpetually renewed. Even as we rest in the quiet present, the land itself whispers of cycles that will unfold. Valleys and forests, rivers and hidden springs, hold within them subtle markers for events that have yet to occur. A grove that blooms once every century is quietly gathering energy in preparation. A hidden pond, reflecting the faint light of distant stars, carries a shimmer that will one day guide a festival long forgotten to those ready to perceive it. Magic lingers in anticipation, patiently waiting for alignment with dreamers, observers, and the natural rhythms of Ooo. In this way, the future is not distant or unknowable. It is quietly rehearsing itself, embedded in the pulse of the land, awaiting the attention of those who are attuned. The secret calendar of Ooo, though deeply rooted in history, is alive, dynamic, and responsive. Past festivals, seasonal shifts, and celestial alignments form the foundation, but they also interact with events yet to occur. Rare blooms, early frosts, and unexpected celestial alignments may emerge in ways that echo, reinterpret, or even transform the rituals and rhythms of the past. Magic ensures continuity, yet it also allows for subtle variation, ensuring that each cycle remains vibrant, alive, and relevant. Observers, both human and mystical, will continue to participate, guided by memory, intuition, and the quiet whispers of the archivists who persist in shadow and dream. The cycles yet to come are not uniform. Some will be brief, subtle, and almost imperceptible, like the early arrival of a migratory bird or the soft shimmer of dew on a hidden stone. Others will be grand, resonant, and marked by celestial phenomena that inspire awe, the passing of a comet, the alignment of moons, or the rare blooming of a magical flower. Each cycle carries significance not only for those who participate, but for the land itself, which absorbs and preserves these moments in preparation for future observers. The future in Ooo is a living rhythm, layered and interconnected, where small events resonate as deeply as grand ones. Magic again plays a patient role in shaping the cycles yet to come. Residual energies from centuries of past observances interact with current patterns, creating subtle guides for those who can perceive them. A stone circle might shimmer under moonlight to signal the optimal time for ritual. A hidden spring might pulse in resonance with a distant celestial event. A glade may glow faintly, its light subtly directing travelers or ritualists to participate in a festival that aligns with a cycle hundreds of years in the making. The archivists, both living and passive, continue to guide, preserving the pulse of time and ensuring that the future remains in harmony with the rhythms of the past. Observant beings, whether human, mystical, or otherwise, are invited to participate in these cycles. Even without conscious awareness of the secret calendar, their actions contribute to the rhythm of Ooo. Planting seeds, performing ritual songs, observing seasonal changes, and following migratory patterns of animals all intersect with the living calendar. Each act, no matter how small, is both guided by and contributes to the cycles yet to come. Through this ongoing interaction, Ooo ensures continuity, blending memory, observation, magic, and participation into a rhythm that transcends any single generation. Dreams will continue to serve as bridges between past, present, and future. The cosmic owl and other dream-bound archivists carry visions not only of what has been, but of what may yet be. A dreamer might glimpse the shimmer of a grove at the perfect moment for a festival, or sense the alignment of stars that will guide the timing of ritual weeks or even years in advance. These visions, subtle and often symbolic, ensure that the hidden calendar remains dynamic, alive, and perpetually renewed. Through dreams, future observers are connected to the pulse of Ooo in ways that transcend conscious understanding, allowing participation in cycles that are as old as the land and as new as the coming moment. The cycles yet to come are inherently interconnected with those of the past. Seasonal shifts, lunar phases, and forgotten festivals echo through time, their influence is rebounding into future observances. A rare bloom that appeared centuries ago may guide the timing of a new festival. A faint alignment of stones from a forgotten ceremony may subtly direct the path of a wandering traveler. Each thread of hidden time interacts with the others, creating a delicate, living web where past, present, and future coexist in quiet, harmonious rhythm. Even in the smallest gestures, the future unfolds, a whispered song, a single observation of light on leaves, a careful placement of an object in a glade. These seemingly insignificant acts ripple forward, reinforcing the pulse of time. The Silent Archivists continue their work, preserving and amplifying these influences, ensuring that the secret calendar remains intact, ready to guide generations yet to come. In this way, Oo's cycles are not static. They are alive, responsive, and intimately connected to all who dwell, move, and dream within the land. As we drift further into these cycles yet to come, we begin to see how even the most subtle events hold significance within Oo's living calendar. A quiet bloom along a hidden path, The delicate shimmer of dew catching morning light, or the almost imperceptible alignment of stars can all signal the unfolding of events that echo centuries of history. Each moment is part of a continuum where past observances influence present experiences and present actions gently shape the rhythm of the future. In this way, Ooo's hidden calendar is not merely a record. It is a living pulse, dynamic and responsive, guiding those who attune themselves to it with a quiet insistence. Future festivals, though unseen, are already whispered into the land by the subtle movements of magic and memory. A grove that has remained untouched for decades may suddenly resonate with energy, preparing to host the gathering of both creatures and humans attuned to its rhythm. Streams may ripple in unusual ways to reflect the timing of a rare celestial alignment. The echo of long-forgotten songs may be felt in the wind, inspiring those sensitive to magical currents to participate in cycles of joy, reflection, or ritual. Even in the absence of conscious knowledge, the land prepares for these events, laying the groundwork for continuity and resonance across time. As the celestial bodies continue to play a guiding role, their rhythms interacting with both magic and memory to create subtle markers for the future. Moon phases, planetary alignments, and distant comets will continue to influence the timing of rituals, blooms, and festivals. These events, though occurring far above the land, are deeply connected to the cycles below, as if the heavens themselves participate in the careful maintenance of Ooo's hidden calendar. Observers, attuned to these subtle signals, may discover moments of synchrony where celestial patterns, seasonal shifts, and magical resonance converge, providing guidance for participation in events yet to unfold. Magic, as always, quietly ensures continuity while allowing for adaptation. Residual energy from past rituals interacts with new observations, creating subtle shifts in the timing and experience of future events. A grove that once hosted a festival may bloom slightly earlier or later, guided by unseen currents of magic and observation. A spring might pulse with renewed energy as celestial patterns align. These variations, subtle and gentle, ensure that Oo's cycles remain alive and responsive, never static, yet always anchored to the deep currents of history and memory. Observers, both human and mystical, are invited to participate in these unfolding rhythms. A simple gesture, like the careful planting of a seed, the placement of a charm, or the attentive observation of seasonal shifts, contributes to the ongoing work of the archivists. Even seemingly small actions ripple forward, reinforcing the pulse of time and allowing future cycles to unfold in harmony with both past and present. In this way, Oo's calendar is not only preserved, it is co-created, a living collaboration between land, magic, memory, and those who move gently within its rhythms. Dreams continue to serve as bridges into these yet-to-unfold cycles. The cosmic owl, weaving silently through slumber, offers visions of future alignments, festivals, and seasonal markers. Dreamers may perceive hints of when rare blooms will appear, when magical currents will align, or when hidden groves will host celebrations unseen for centuries. These dreams are often subtle, impressionistic, and symbolic, yet they provide guidance for those sensitive to the quiet pulse of Ooo, allowing the living calendar to maintain its rhythm across generations, bridging past, present, and future. Even the quietest natural phenomena participate in the preparation of these cycles. A breeze through a forest, the shimmer of water in a hidden spring, or the movement of light across a valley may all carry faint impressions of events to come. Observers attuned to these subtleties can navigate the hidden calendar, aligning their actions with the pulse of time in ways that feel intuitive, gentle, and profoundly connected to the land. In this way, The cycles yet to come are not distant or abstract. They are present, waiting, and intimately intertwined with the daily rhythms of life in Ooo. As we drift further into these cycles yet to come, it becomes apparent that time in Ooo is not a straight line, but a gentle spiral where past, present, and future fold into one another. Each event, no matter how small, interacts with the countless others, creating a tapestry of subtle resonance. A rare bloom may influence the timing of a festival decades later. The shimmer of moonlight on a hidden pond might guide a dreamer toward a ritual yet to be performed. Even the faint rustle of leaves along an abandoned path carries the echo of past attention, forming a bridge to future observances. In this way, the cycles yet to come are not separate from the past. They are the natural continuation of it, quietly unfolding in harmony with centuries of memory and magic. Some future cycles will be monumental, their significance etched deeply into the pulse of the land. Celestial alignments, once rare and almost imperceptible, will return in synchrony with magical currents, revealing hidden festivals and forgotten observances. A comet passing across the sky may trigger the awakening of long dormant groves, their energy pulsing faintly to signal the time for ritual. Streams, forests, and valleys will carry subtle vibrations, guiding those attuned to participate. The quiet archivists, both living and passive, will ensure that the rhythm of these cycles remains intact, preserving continuity while allowing the natural and magical world to evolve. Other cycles will be delicate and subtle, requiring careful observation to perceive. The first frost of the season, arriving slightly earlier or later than expected, may shift the timing of certain rituals. A rare alignment of stars may be glimpsed only from a hidden valley, offering guidance to those who are patient enough to notice. Even small gestures, planting a seed, lighting a fire at the appropriate time, singing a soft song under the moon, interact with these rhythms, strengthening the continuity of the hidden calendar. Oo's future cycles depend as much on quiet attentiveness as on grand events, reminding us that preservation is an ongoing act, nurtured by both the land and its inhabitants. Dreams continue to be a bridge to these cycles yet to come. The cosmic owl drifts through the sleeping minds of Ooo, carrying visions of future alignments, rituals, and seasonal markers. Some dreams offer direct guidance. A vision of a grove glowing under a specific moon, a pattern of stars signaling a festival. Others are more subtle, conveying rhythm, emotion, or intuition rather than explicit instruction. In both cases, these dreams ensure that the hidden calendar remains dynamic, responsive, and deeply connected to those who inhabit the land. They remind us that time in Ooo is a living pulse, not merely a measurement, and that participation in future cycles is always possible for those who are attuned. The land itself participates in shaping these cycles. Valleys, forests, rivers, and mountains retain subtle imprints of past events, quietly influencing future rhythms. A glade that once hosted a festival may bloom with energy when the time is right, guiding participants naturally to the site. Rivers may reflect celestial patterns at precise moments, aligning water flow with moon phases, seasonal shifts, or magical resonance. Forests may subtly alter the timing of flower blooms, animal migrations, or the sound of wind through branches, preserving harmony between past traditions and future events. In Ooo, the land is not inert. It is a living archive, anticipating and guiding cycles yet to come. Magic amplifies these patterns. Residual enchantments from centuries of festivals, rituals, and observances interact with natural phenomena, creating subtle cues for future participants. Stones may hum under specific celestial alignments, hidden springs may pulse with magical energy, and groves may glow faintly when long-forgotten rituals are ready to be renewed. These signals are often invisible to the untrained eye, but to those attuned, they provide a gentle guide, ensuring continuity across time while allowing for adaptation, variation, and new expressions of ancient rhythms. Even the quietest acts influence the cycles yet to come. A song hummed under a waning moon, a flower planted in a hidden grove, or a single observation of seasonal change can ripple forward, contributing to the subtle resonance that maintains Oo's living calendar. Observers, whether human, mystical, or otherwise, participate actively in shaping the future, guided by intuition, attention, and the quiet presence of the archivists. Through these gentle interactions, time in Ooo flows not as rigid measurement, but as a shared rhythm between land, magic, and life, ever renewing itself, ever persistent, ever alive. The cycles yet to come remind us that the secret calendar of Ooo is both enduring and adaptable. It is preserved through observation, magic, memory, and participation, but it is never static. Each generation, each observer, each subtle shift in the land adds to the richness of its rhythm. Past festivals, hidden years, lunar patterns, seasonal shifts, and the guidance of silent archivists converge to create a living tapestry, one that welcomes the future while honoring the past. This is the quiet beauty of Oo's calendar. It is alive, flowing, and ever-present, inviting us to notice, participate, and drift gently along its pulse. As we settle into the final moments of our journey through Oo's secret calendar, it is worth pausing to reflect on the extraordinary quietness and resilience of these cycles yet to come. Time in Ooo is not linear, nor is it strictly measured. It flows as a living pulse, subtly guided by the land, by magic, and by those attuned to its rhythms. The hidden years, forgotten festivals, lunar and celestial alignments, seasonal shifts, and silent archivists all converge to create a delicate network, one that reaches into the future with soft persistence. Each cycle, each subtle shimmer of light, each faint hum of magic is an invitation to observe, to participate, and to connect with the living heart of this land. Even in the quietest corners of Ooo, the future waits patiently, rehearsing itself through natural and magical markers. A grove that has been untouched for decades may begin to glow faintly at dusk, signaling the time for a festival that has not been celebrated for generations. Streams may ripple in delicate synchrony with distant stars, hinting at ceremonies yet to be performed. Hidden springs may pulse with residual energy from long-ago rituals, creating subtle cues for those perceptive enough to notice. Every act, every object, every creature plays a role, however imperceptible, in maintaining the rhythm of the secret calendar, ensuring continuity even when the world around them changes. Dreams continue to weave threads of the future into the minds of those who sleep under Oo's skies. The cosmic owl, gliding silently through slumbering thoughts, carries visions of rare celestial alignments, hidden festivals, and seasonal shifts yet to unfold. Some of these visions are precise, offering direct guidance on timing or location. Others are more impressionistic, conveying the rhythm, the feeling, and the subtle pull of an event waiting to be remembered. Through dreams, future observers are gently connected to the pulse of Ooo, guided to participate in ways that honor both the past and the present, and that allow the cycles yet to come to flourish in harmony with what has already been. Magic, in its quiet and patient way, ensures that these cycles are never rigid, never static. Residual enchantments from centuries past interact with the current flow of the land, creating subtle variations that keep each cycle alive and vibrant. Stones may hum faintly under moonlight, groves may shimmer with a soft glow at the perfect alignment of stars, and rivers may carry traces of ritual energy across hidden valleys. These gentle signals allow the secret calendar to remain dynamic, adaptable, and deeply responsive to the living world. They remind us that time in Ooo is not imposed but experienced, unfolding naturally and beautifully, with guidance always present for those who choose to notice. Observers, whether human, mystical, or otherwise, continue to play a vital role. Each small gesture, a song hummed under the moon, a seed planted in quiet soil, a charm left in a hidden glade, contributes to the ongoing resonance of the living calendar. The silent archivists, both natural and magical, absorb these gestures, amplifying their effect and ensuring that the rhythm of time continues unbroken. Through patient observation and gentle interaction, participants in Oo's world help to sustain the cycles yet to come, linking past, present, and future in a delicate, living harmony. The cycles themselves are intertwined, forming patterns that echo across centuries. A festival once celebrated under a rare celestial alignment may influence a bloom in a hidden grove, which in turn may signal a ritual to be performed decades later. Seasonal shifts, migratory patterns, and magical currents all interact, creating a web of interdependence where every element matters. This interconnectedness ensures that Oo's secret calendar is not only preserved but continuously renewed, evolving naturally while remaining anchored to the deep pulses of memory and magic. Even as we drift toward sleep, we can sense these cycles unfolding, quietly, patiently, and invisibly. The rhythm of the land, the subtle movements of magic, the guidance of dream-bound archivists, and the attentive acts of those who inhabit Ooo, all converge to create a living, breathing pulse of time. The future is not distant. It is present in every shimmer of light, every rustle of leaves, every faint vibration of magic in the air. To participate, one must only attune themselves to the quiet pulse of the world and allow themselves to notice. As we conclude tonight's journey through the hidden years, forgotten festivals, lunar and celestial patterns, seasonal shifts, and the silent archivists who preserve Oo's living calendar, we can take comfort in knowing that the cycles yet to come will continue their gentle work. Time, magic, memory, and observation flow together in quiet harmony, guiding life in Ooo across generations, inviting participation, and preserving the pulse of hidden years. In Ooo, nothing is ever truly lost, for every moment leaves a mark, and every mark quietly prepares the way for what is to come. So, sleepyheads, as you lay beneath your blankets in the quiet of your room, imagine the soft shimmer of hidden groves, the gentle hum of magic in ancient stones, and the quiet pulse of time flowing through the world. Picture the future cycles of Ooo unfolding in delicate harmony, awaiting those patient enough to observe, gentle enough to participate, and mindful enough to drift along with their rhythm. Let your breath slow, your mind soften, and your awareness expand into the subtle beauty of this living, secret calendar. Good night.